this thing. Hey, Martin, how's it going? That should be good. Oh, okay. Hey, Martin, what's up? Can you hear me? The mic is. Let me see. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's on my side or yours. Let me see.
Now you should be able to hear me.
Okay.
So I have a question. How do you pronounce your name? Oh shit! He probably thinks my mic is still fucked up. It's like my mic is going to be stupid and Down syndrome most of the time. Hopefully, it's not going to be tomorrow during World War debate. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but I have a debate tomorrow. What is it? 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for a World War debate, and I'm going to be battling. What's his freaking name? Miles. I think that Anton Miles, some guy named Anton Miles, who doesn't do debates. He does lectures. So I'll be debating that guy pretty damn soon. So soon enough to be tomorrow. Think of Vale. I think his name is trying to get his whole situation corrected right now on the other side. Can you hear me now? Hey, what's up, John Mondragon? AKA Intergalactic Contradiction. I think it's Galactic Contradiction, something like that. Just gonna let you know it's a crazy name, by the way. Hey, what's up, man?
Let's see if it's the I think I have the audio rerouted wrong.
You know what? You know who you look like? Can you hear me now? No.
Connected.
No volume. Oh man, you're in my position now. I'm usually not. That's usually me with the messed up mic.
Should have it.
All right, as he,
I can't hear you at all. It's throwing me off a bit.
Gotcha. Okay. I think my chat can probably hear me. You'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. Should have did this backstage before you came up, but you know, hey, we had to be a little
speaker.
I have faith in you. You'll figure it out. Matter of fact, you guys watching, doesn't he look like Metatron? Just gonna let you guys know right now. This guy looks like Metatron, like maybe the Temu version of Metatron. Let me know if I'm wrong. As he figures out his mic issues, once again, I'm going to let you guys know World War debate starts tomorrow. I have a debate against a guy named Anton Miles. I think that's his name, Anton Miles. He doesn't do debates, which is weird. They're going to pit me up against somebody who doesn't do debates. He's done lectures in the past. And the debate prompt is feminism has helped modern dating. I shit you not. They pit me up against somebody who doesn't do debates, and that's going to be the first prompt. Lord have mercy. May Christ have mercy on this debater tomorrow, because I've been prepping all day for this thing.
Okay, so the mic is working. Marte, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, so you can hear me. I just can't hear you, which is odd.
Yeah, I know. Crazy how that is.
Bad, guys.
Maybe I should let you into my stream. Maybe we should do like Inception here. Hold on, let me message you real quick.
Might be on my end. I'm gonna reset real quick.
I'm gonna send him my link to my stream and see if this will work real quick. Give me 2 seconds real quick. It's gonna sound pretty funny right now. You know what? I don't even have to do that. Invite guests.
I've never had this happen before. Wow. Speaker.
Can you hear me now? I just sent you a Twitter tweet right now that you can come onto my stream. Maybe that'll work. Damn, From Bumbly says, bro, I was at the first World War debate in Atlantic City. Trash. Oh, don't tell me that. Well, you know what's going to be trash from Bumbly? The other guy tomorrow night. He's going to be trashed. So I will tell you, tomorrow night's debate, you're going to want to tune in. That's not going to be trash. As far as the event and all that, I wasn't present for that, so I'll take your word for it. But tomorrow night's event is against a guy named Miles Anton, and the debate prompt is feminism has helped modern dating. You already know what side I'm on. Hopefully, Timu Metatron here has got my link so he can join my stream instead. Because maybe that'll work. Don't know if he's got any of this stuff figured out, but we're going to figure this out together. Once he can go
Okay, ahead. I'm using my, if you can hear me, one more time.
Yeah, I can hear you. This stuff figured out. We're going to figure this out together. There's an echo, but I sent you a tweet. You can join my stream instead.
Okay, I'm listening through the stream. Did you say something towards us? Because
but I sent you
a tweet. Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, echo. Oh shit, I shouldn't fuck with him like this. Oh boy. Hey, Red Door Woman, good to see you. From Bumbly said, we'll watch from home. LOL. Yeah, from home.
Okay, continue with YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, continue with YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, Red Door Woman. If you weren't in my corner, okay, you'd probably be on the feminist.
I think everything is working. It says, Mike.
You can hear me now, kind of. As soon as we get these mic issues sorted out. Hey, what's up? AJ's Rants and Reactions. If you guys haven't followed him, follow him right now. If you don't follow him, then I guess you're not an ally after all. All right. Can you hear me now? A little bit.
Connected. Everything looks good.
Connected. Just can't hear me.
Okay, Marte, I'm good to go.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I'm good to go on your end. I should be connected on the other one.
Yeah, I can hear. Wait, the other one? What's the other one? Wait, you say the other one. What does that mean, the other one?
To make sure, I'm gonna join, see if I can like your invite.
Oh yeah. Do that. Okay, I'll bring you up real quick.
The invite you just sent me on X.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah.
I don't see you backstage or anything yet.
Okay, let me cancel.
Here we go. No, there's two of me now. Nice. Lord knows we don't need two of me. I'll be obnoxious to liberals, leftists, and feminists. They already get pissed off when there's one of me. So there's two coons in the building. So we got two Uncle Toms. Man, liberals don't like that at all. Anyways, back to this. Red Door Woman says, I've been fighting feminists since the 70s. Damn, that is fierce. You don't play at all, I guess. So tomorrow's debate is going to be, the prompt for tomorrow's debate in World War Debate is feminism has helped modern dating. Trust me, this isn't a joke. Somebody actually gave me that prompt to fight up against, and against a guy who doesn't do debates. He says, quote unquote, I only do lectures. And I looked on his channel. That's all he does. He doesn't do debates. I'm just like, okay, you guys just want to give me a slaughter, right? And like, this is, look, I'm not underestimating anybody. Like, we can't underestimate anybody. Like, that's not something that we're going to be doing. Let's go ahead and bring this up real quick. All right.
There we go. My bad, bro.
Can you hear me now? A little bit better?
Loud and clear. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? No echo. Okay, good. All right. We're back at it again. And you're on the right stream. If you're on my stream, you're on the right stream. Right here, we do a lot of conservatism, and we also do anti-liberal rhetoric, anti-feminism propaganda, and even more. And black culture. We're anti-black culture here. I don't know about anybody in the chat, But if you are tearing down cities, looting, and having baby mama drama and creating more crime, I'm anti that culture. It doesn't mean I'm anti-black people, just anti the culture. I think it's stupid. I think we should eradicate it off the planet, but it's one step at a time. Anyways, how you doing?
Oh, bro, I'm doing great, man. Just set up the stream, had a slight hiccup there, but overall, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Good. I was telling him that you look like a Temu Metatron, by the way. But I do have a question, though. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Vale or Vale?
So it's supposed to be pronounced like Val, but the E is silent, so people call me Val, Vale.
Oh, so like Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
Kind of like that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. People, it's all over the place, but yeah.
All right, so let's get into this. This is a really interesting subject. When we talk about who's to blame, I know that we are in a modern society right now to where we are indulging in everything, left and right. I'm just going to jump right into the topic and say that I think that consumerism is rampant. I think propagandization by names over purpose is at the forefront of everything. We like to point fingers at the Trump administration as if that's the fall guy, when really our own irresponsible actions are to blame. But I think we've been operating under the guise of, I have to buy it even though I don't need it because of image. Am I off base here at all?
No, I actually completely agree with you. I think a lot of the times, a lot of people want to point fingers at everywhere else. Usually it's like the administrations they look at, because things have gone up in price. It's like, oh my God, it's completely unaffordable. And recently I had, because when I would go grocery shopping, I know this is like may seem off topic, but I was actually like, wow, these prices are cheap. So I literally made videos saying, look at these prices, that like they're cheap. And it's like a 60 pack of eggs for like $7. And people are like, the excuses are anywhere from like, it used to be cheaper to where am I going to put the eggs? And then they start saying, oh, you're a Trump bootlicker. You're a billionaire bootlicker because you're pointing out cheaper prices. And it's like, where I've never said anything about Trump. I didn't say anything in the lines of, I like, even in the videos, like, oh, I support the current administration. I'm just saying these prices are, it's not what it seems. And people still decide to, oh, we're going to blame Trump and we're going to blame the current administration. And it's wild of the victimization of people, like, of themselves today.
Well, I'll even kind of run on a tangent on that. And it's not a deflection, but it kind of is. Actually, it is a blatant it's kind of disrespectful to everybody that works hard in this country and does what they need to do. But frankly, there's a lot of people that would argue against you and say that they're $400 away from poverty and being in the streets, like a $400 emergency. Well, although I can grant that they're right about this, I think that the main problem in America right now is people are living way beyond their means. I think that when I say we got to have this and we live in consumerism, there's a movie that plays out. It's called They Live with Roddy Piper. He puts on glasses and he realizes, oh, you have to consume, be sedated, be comfortable, go to sleep and all this. And I think we're really living in those times of the movie They Live. Have you seen that movie before?
A-Live? No, I don't believe I have.
Okay, It's a movie where aliens come to the planet and they use a lot of propaganda and marketing and they disguise themselves as human beings, but turning us into consumerists so we can buy into everything, so we can be sedated. We can go to sleep at the helm while they overrun everything and take control. That's literally what the premise of the movie is. The guy was ahead of his time when he had this subject matter. But this is the thing, though. We have to realize that we're living beyond our means. We totally are. When you could have just bought a Nissan, you want to drive a Benz because of the name. And now you're struggling, but just because you have to maintain an image. We do the same thing every day. And I'll tell you how. This is like on a smaller, meager account, but everything adds up, right? And I'll tell you how. I can go buy groceries and buy food and then take the work to go ahead and make lunches and do all this. No, I don't want to do that. Let me go to fast food and buy the same shit that's like 5x more that I would have bought groceries with. And then we do this with everything else too, because not only do we lack discipline, not only do we lack the fortitude to have a schedule, not only do we have any of this, but we're blindsided by the fact that we tell ourselves we're too busy because we need convenience. And we're too busy running when really we could just slow down, be a little bit more disciplined. But instead of doing that, we're going to blame Trump. We're going to blame everybody else. I think that that's the fall guy. When we point a finger, we're really looking at ourselves. We're wasteful as a people. That's what happens.
No, I completely agree with that. Like that part specifically, because for instance, the average car payment is well into $500 now, and people still want to say no, it's not my car. The biggest waste of finances is your car payment, and I've seen that. I came from like a family, like a household that was very poor in the sense of like with very poor financial literacy. They did not think for the future. They gave out very bad advice when it came to finances. When it came to credit, it was like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like, no, you should worry about it. And then I started realizing that it wasn't just the household that I came from, but in general, people are, one, they're very wasteful, and two, they live way above their means and they don't track anything. There's the lack of tracking, I believe, is what people actually should put blame on, instead of, oh, it's like it's the administration, it's the government, it's the elites, it's like any of these other things. Because it's just like, wait, if you don't track what you eat, then it's like, oh, I ate 2,000 calories in one sitting and I didn't even realize that. So this is the issue I'm having with a lot of like people that blame like outside of their personal finances. I think we should work on like our internal issues, and then after we fix everything, it's like, okay, let's work on like what else we could fix with the overall like macro economy.
Yeah, we live and Red Door Woman here says, we live in a materialistic society, and I totally agree with her. We do. We put everything as such as like to build this construct of an image. It like we're literally building idols. We're worshiping idols before anything else. And this can be through marketing, through propagandization. And this is how you change a nation. Feminism has done a bang up job on this, mind you, meaning that we're going to put women's priorities over men. And I'll tell you how. And this leads to double standards in what you're talking about, because there's 2 points I'll bring up. One thing that I'll compare this to is feminism. One thing that feminism tells you to do is like, if I tell you, like, let's say, Val, I go over to your side of town, the worst side of town, and I tell you I'm going to wear a Rolex and I'm going to drive a Maserati. Or let's just say like it's a supercar. To that side of town, I tell you, I'm going to get blackout drunk and I'm going to hang with ex-convicts that I don't know. What would you tell me?
Yeah, that's I don't know if I can say certain words like retarded.
Yeah. So you would say that is that, right? That it's stupid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Activities. But hold on, though. The very same people that you tell this to on the other I would say gender would say that you're victim blaming. If I tell a woman, like, don't go out of town, don't go to the wrong side of town and wear the skimpy dress and get blackout drunk around a bunch of dudes you don't know, what they'll do is they'll scream, oh, you're doing grape culture. You know, you're promoting grape culture by telling her what she can't do. Well, you see the double standard that we created? We do that all the time. And this leads to like the consumerism thing. Sounds like a weird comparison, but I'll tie this up. How we do this is we've been led to believe that convenience is good, right? We're kind of contradicting ourselves and having a double standard by saying, if I have a credit card or a debit card, I can control my spending easier, right? Try to spend $50 and then you're going to notice that it leaves your hand harder, and that and not only this, but you're inevitably, I would say subconsciously tracking the money leaving your hand and then getting it back when you count $15.72. It's like you can actually see it in your hand. So you're more reluctant to spend this. Well, it's like if I tell you, no, don't use your credit card. Wait, hold on. It's still cash. It doesn't mean anything. All right, you're going to make stupid decisions doing this because you don't physically see the money leave your account. It's different. So it's like we've been brainwashed in this culture to like co-opt everything. Feminism has co-opted the manosphere. This whole thing about wasteful spending and all of this has been co-opted through consumerism and propagandization of, I got to get the Nikes, even though I can't afford them. I'll figure it out rent next week. Like, we live in this culture. We've never lived in this culture before where we spend everything, but I had to go get the Birkin bag. I'll figure out rent next week or the mortgage. I'll make it work. This is the most retarded thing we've ever, the activities we've ever had. But this happens all the time. And I'll tell you who does this more than anything else. I'm probably going to get demonized by my chat. Women do this more than anything else. And you know where this culture comes from, Vale? This culture comes from places like sex work. And I know I'm making this weird correlation here, but I'll tell you how it comes from things like this. If you put women in a culture where they're not going to have discipline, work hard, or find anything that's like where you actually have to put in hard work, right, to go get anything. Meanwhile, like let's say she strips at night or does OF and makes $500. The money doesn't mean anything because I got that in 10 minutes or whatever it is, because I sent 2 locks of hair to this simp who would buy it, or my underwear. He bought it because he sniffed it for like $200, and people are into weird shit all the time. She's not going to appreciate the $200 because she didn't work for this. You know what I'm saying? The merit is missing on the women's side. So when you talk about consumerism, that's why they were the easiest to propagandize. When you say every kiss begins with K, they weren't talking to the men when we talk about this. When women say, I love to go shopping, you'll hear women say this. You'll hardly hear men say this because men happen to be more logical and practical when it comes to this. But guess what happens? Men have to chase women. We have to go ahead and be hunters and do all this. And what are we going to do? Now we're suddenly conforming to the woman and saying, I'll buy her the purse. If I don't buy her the purse, she's probably going to bleed. So what are we doing here? So a lot of the consumerism culture is, I'd hate to say, on the feminism side. And we know what gender that is. But that's what's happening right here. And men are kind of following suit a little bit because they want to impress the women as well, too. It's just this big convoluted soup that we're sitting in right now. And believe it or not, like back to the premise I said at the beginning, we are living beyond our means. And if we don't pull back the reins and stop living beyond our means, we're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot, because if an emergency happens and a $400 emergency can take you out, well, you could have saved $200 by not eating fast food that whole week. You'd be shocked at how much money you spend on fast food. If you just go ahead and just go to the grocery store, spend 20 minutes cooking something, and doing it yourself, you'll save time, energy, and everything else, and you'll have more money in your bank account. Nobody thinks like this.
That's the thing. It's like since I've tracked my finances, especially when I eat, like if I go eat out, right? And it catches up with you when you don't realize it. And I've tracked, I'm like, oh wow, I've spent like $100 in like 2 weeks on like Uber Eats. And I'm like, okay, I need to step back. I think it can be fit into a budget if you genuinely like, eating out once in a while at your favorite restaurant. There's nothing like stopping you from making a budget around it. The problem is when people don't track. And I remember it was like, what's funny though, and like still on the topic of like food and groceries, is like eating healthy, for example. And I remember because I was watching while I was at work, I was listening to the when you had the debate with Brian Johnson. And one of the feminists came up and she was like, well, you don't understand because you're a billionaire or a millionaire that you live outside of like reality, because it's so hard for people to eat healthy when millionaires like you can have enough money for that.
Vale, I gotta say this. That woman was a bitch the whole time, and I almost got into it. We almost fought. So there's like a back alley of Jubilee. Jubilee, let me talk about this just for 2 seconds real quick. In Jubilee, it's like in a warehouse. Right, I guarantee they're not going to be pissed if I say this, because this is actually true. It's in a rundown warehouse where they have this, and it's like if you use the restroom in that bitch, you're probably going to feel like you need a tetanus shot. Like that's how bad this place is. And you go in there, and then you're like, oh shit, a billionaire is going to be in this rundown, dusty, tetanus shot of a place. It's just crazy. When I sat down, she was the loudest person in the room, talking the most shit. And when I went out in the alley, I said, she said something. She was like, I guarantee you not many people have debated before. Of course I had to chime in. I said, well, I've debated everybody, even Destiny. Destiny's lame ass. She said, you didn't debate Destiny. And I said, yes, the fuck I did. No, you didn't. You wouldn't. Few people can debate. I said, I would destroy you in a debate if you'd like to set this up. We could set this shit up for next week when I get back to my hometown and state, and we can do this. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to stoop so low to do a debate with you. Hold on. You're debating at Jubilee. What are you talking about? Like, it's like you're going to contradict you. I'm just like, all right, not only do you not know what you're doing, you're just here to be the distraction and the loudmouth. That's it. Yeah, she was a total bitch the whole time. I'm not even going to lie. Like, that's the truth of the matter.
No, many people victimize themselves. And again, you can tell like who's and I really do think it comes down to jealousy because somebody is successful in some way. And because like, what's his name? Brian Johnson is like doing like a massive, campaign for like, don't die today. And they see anyone with money, and I really realized that it doesn't matter if you make above above average income, you are labeled in those millionaires. They don't see any difference between someone who makes above average income and a billionaire. You're all the rich, like it's all eat the rich. And anyone who is successful, who made it through college, like those people, they're going to be lumped together. And this is the issue I have with that idea, that ideology of everyone who has more money than me is deemed as like an evil person.
That's crazy. So here's the thing though. Like Brian Johnson, I'll never like demonize him because he has a lot of money. We don't know the story. We don't know the backstory. Of course, I can do research, but what if it isn't some nefarious plot and scheme? What's crazy though is women will often do this. And she's a staunch feminist, I know, because she's definitely liberal and a Destiny supporter. She supports the Coom Gremlin. So I can't support her. I already know what her stance is. If she loves Destiny, I already know what she is. She's definitely a overt feminist. So women will do this all the time. If you have something, they'll demonize you for it unless they want to partake in it and you're going to let them partake in it. They'll do this all the time. Women do this often. They'll partake in the 2% of men. They'll say, damn, I want a man that makes this much money. And you know what's crazy? Feminism has turned women into harems. And I'll tell you how they turn women into harems. Now that women are going to jump on the same penis, the 2% penis, everybody else is invisible. You just created a harem for that 1% guy. And that's the problem, though, is that when you create harems, women now idolize things like money. They now idolize things like status, all these other things, and it kind of warps this illusion. So now when women see this on social media, I'm going to tie this back to our subject here at hand. When women see this on social media, they'll scroll through because I guarantee you, trust me, Karen is not posting her bad day. They'll post through and say, oh, she's on a yacht next week. Oh, and another yacht. So this consumerism bleeds over into like, damn, I don't like my husband because my husband doesn't buy the things I need. My husband doesn't take us out to Burger King often. I have to cook. And it turns women into complaint machines because they see this world that they're not living in. And they come back home and their life appears boring. Trust me, that girl on the yacht is doing shit that you don't want to do to be on the yacht. But the wife that's sitting at home spending too much of her husband's money doesn't realize any of this stuff. That life, she's making sacrifices that she can't undo in 10 years from now. She can't undownload the content that's being uploaded by the guy on the yacht or making these sacrifices that she can't undo. And it's weird because women are leading a facade. And the reason why I'm saying mostly women, because let's face it, women are the easiest to propagandize. Look what feminism has done throughout the years. And it's led to the socialized spending and commercialism that we have in society now. Matter of fact, every kiss begins with K. Does that register on any man's radar? No, unless a woman's complaining, I need a bigger diamond. And then not only this, but everything else. When you talk about commercialism, look at the commercials. They're like 75% geared towards women. They are. So they can overspend. The problem with this is, Vale, I'll tell you, this is the solution. You have to learn that infiltration begins in the home. And I think this is true. If you do not put your foot down and say that I'm going to be beholden to these standards and draw a line, hold on to that line, because the more invisible that line gets and that line disappears, you don't know what an ally in competition is anymore. Next thing you know, you're competing with your wife now for the bank account and for overspending, things like this. And it turns into a really bad process. Anyways, I talk too long sometimes. Go ahead.
No, I got you. I enjoy listening to your points. I think that, like, for instance, like I had a conversation with my girlfriend and we both agree that diamonds are a horrible investment. I was lucky enough to find a woman that that can see through a lot of the BS.
Damn. Hey, hold on. Wait, you mean to tell me that she has bought on to your ideals that are anti-commercialism like this and I would say consumerism? Because that's very anti-consumerism of you.
Yeah. We both agree. I've said diamonds are a bullshit investment. She's like, I agree. I think that where we believe like money should go is as hard metals, as in silver, gold, platinum, palladium. We're 100% on board with investing in that. But she even said, like, when I get her a ring for when we get engaged, I'm not getting her like a diamond ring. If it's either gonna have like a gemstone that's actually valuable, like emerald, or like gold. Like it's always gonna be gold in like an actual gemstone, not like the bullshit inflated prices of diamonds. And I think that's another thing. A lot of the times. And I've seen people from the household that I came from that they buy into this. Consumerism, but they buy into this idea that I have to show off for other people. I have to get that bigger diamond. I have to get that faster car. I have to get the flashy shit. And I'm like, why? And I've always questioned it ever since I was like a young teenager. And I was like, why are you doing that? And it's like literally, I'm going to show off to the people at, at just a regular job. And I'm like, why? I've always questioned it.
You know, there's a story out there that happens, and this is very often. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe I can relate to it in my youth. Maybe somebody else can relate to it. But out there, I'll give you a hypothetical. There is a man who is in love with a woman out there, right? He likes her. He's physically attracted to her, but he wants to be able to compete with this woman, but he knows that everybody has things that he probably doesn't. So he's going to bust his ass. He's going to work hard to get these things that other people don't have, i.e. maybe some materialism in his life, maybe some consumerism, and add this on to show that, hey, not only do I have these things, but I can also be a provider too. You notice that provider is like that moral thing that we have at the end, because morally you want to be able to give and provide to keep your family alive. Because if you weren't a provider 500 years from now, your lineage died. You didn't survive a cold winter. You didn't know how to hunt, gather, or do any of this stuff. That's what provision does. But nowadays, it's been bastardized into this consumerism thing where we're turning things into idolatry, to where it's like, I have this thing. Even though it costs like $50 here, I got the $1,000 version of this. She should be impressed. Even though it has the same function as a thing that's $50, the $1,000 version just has a status. Like, we're paying how much? $950 more for just status. And guess what? The reason why he got this $950, $1,000 more, right, was because of this woman, and he wanted to let her know that, hey, I'm a provider. Here's the problem with this. Well, now we have this transactional relationship that's happening. The problem with this is it's the same thing as, I'm going to work out to get buff for the woman. I'm going to buy this $1,000 thing to impress the woman. You don't know if she's going to stick around. And if that $1,000 thing was the thing that got her, there's somebody with a $2,000 version of it that can be like catching her eye. And guess what happened? You worked hard for something that's temporary, that may not even be around, a person that you can't even control. Why are we doing this? And that's the problem with this consumerism, is that there's a sense of bro harder that comes along with this. Like, if you bro hard enough, and if you work hard enough and earn things hard enough, you're going to get the woman. I understand that to some degree, but that should be like secondary. Like, that should be a byproduct of you already doing the thing and doing what you want to do. But guys these days, because we have such a culture of simps, incels, things like that, leading with materialism is going to be the first thing. Why else do you think that there are people that are willing to buy OF models panties online in a Ziploc bag and all these other weird shit that we got? Because here's another part of the consumerism. COVID actually like made things worse. When we were locked in our home because of this epidemic that happened, the stabby jabby thing, Amazon, I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos made a shit ton of money. Nobody was going out touching grass because we had limited movement, and everybody else was like, remember what I said? You don't spend in cash, you don't track things. Everybody was purchasing something from a card, so you couldn't track how money was being spent, and your only means of getting out and experiencing the world was to purchase power. Now that everybody's home sick because of COVID, the only way I'm going to feel good is if I buy the thing. Now all of a sudden you get this endorphin rush because she buys the purse. She buys this thing, and and it's like Christmas because they come in packages and all this. Now that we have this endorphin rush, you're slowly getting tricked into more consumerism. America has taken this turn to where now all of a sudden cooking at home and doing all this stuff is like, now all of a sudden that sounds extreme. Meal prep wasn't even called meal prep. We just made a lunch for your husband. We didn't even call it meal prep. Now we call things meal prep and doing things, and we have to make it sound special. Bro, that was just a wife making a sandwich and chips so that he can go to his construction jobs. Now we call simple things like that, oh, I gotta go home and meal prep. Like, that's a big task. That takes like 5 minutes, Marge. But you're gonna go ahead and use somebody else's labor and outsource everything so you can put yourself into more debt by spending $200 a week on fast food instead of staying at home and creating this traditional family by staying home. Matter of fact, another point I'll make, and I'll end it here, is that a dish, like a plate, everybody forgets how magical that plate was. When you make home cooked meals, you're saving a lot of money. But even more than that, women have forgotten the value of a hot plate. A hot plate is like magic to a hardworking man. If you come home and you see a plate of warm homemade food, yeah, I'm telling you, it makes up for. You forget the boss was a dick to you. You forget that bitch cut you off on the freeway. You see this plate and you're like, fuck, man, I am rich. I am a millionaire. Your back can hurt. Your feet can hurt. You don't even need a massage. You got a plate. A hot plate, women out there, if you're listening, is magic to a man. Somehow in America, we've lost this connection with this magical hot plate at home. You don't have magic at Wendy's and Jack in the Box. You don't have any of this stuff. All it is throw it away. Now we're not thinking about it. You're throwing away everything for convenience. You're throwing away the traditions we used to hold in our home. You're throwing away the connection and bonding over a plate in a family sitting together, eating a meal. You're throwing away everything else because you're eating shit in your car and throwing it out. Now all of a sudden we've eroded that tradition of sitting home, which saves more money, creates bonding time for you, and also magically repairs your fucked up day that you had. How am I wrong?
So I believe in that. I also believe in it being like a bit innovative with it. I think like you can buy appliances that help you cook more and faster and reduce all of the time. Rice cookers, for example. Rice cookers are a great investment. They have like what is it? Like pressure steamers, like all of these things where you can buy even like prepackaged foods if you want to go for that little extra convenience, a little extra price. So I don't have an issue with speeding things up or being a little innovative towards it. It's like I think in general, people do want to outsource like their they want to outsource all of their cooking. They want to outsource like everything throughout their day, and it becomes a problem. I do believe if you have I do believe if you have the money to output a little bit, there's nothing wrong with outsourcing. I have an issue when everything wants to be outsourced just for the base of convenience.
Well, it's not just that. We have an outsource problem, and I think you hit the nail on the fucking head. Here's how we have an outsourcing problem. Outsourcing is okay, and I'm going to reiterate what you say, but I'm going to say it in my own words. Outsourcing is okay, but somehow there's been an overcorrection. We crossed the line, and we kept on going. We do this with everything in life. We outsource our kids to daycare so somebody else can raise our kids under their ideology and underneath their liberal rainbow flag, whatever this is. We outsource them to public schools so that way somebody else can teach them whatever they learn in their indoctrinated value system at school, public schools. We outsource everything. Matter of fact, we've outsourced everything to the point to where we damn near have gay relationships at home. I'll explain why I'm conflating the two. Everything in a lesbian relationship has to be outsourced. If you want kids, sperm bank. You got to protect your home, gun, because you don't have a man in your home. You got to go ahead and the sex life has been ruined because the batteries died. Go out and get batteries. Everything in that relationship has to be outsourced. So if you have to outsource everything so much, your relationship is gay with self even. I think that if we can kind of like build this home unit that we used to have with traditional families, like creating a hot meal, that used to be an event. You know, waiting for mom to cook and everybody was talking and they were like, I can't wait to taste mom's famous ravioli. I don't ever hear or remember the last time anybody's ever spoken on mom's favorite recipe that she always makes. Back in the day, my mom had a cookbook. People's grandmothers had cookbooks and they pride themselves on all of this, right? Not only was this cost effective, but it developed a culture in the neighborhood to where women down the block were like, oh, Nancy's pie isn't better than mine. I could bake a better pie than she can. Now all of a sudden it's competitive because we're competing for who has the best traditional culture in their home. We don't have this anymore. We've eroded this with consumerism, spending, competition outside the home because that's even been outsourced and everything else. Our traditional values have been forfeited and outsourced outside the home. Totally. And I think that we should rein that back in with propagandization of culture of home cooked meals, kind of keeping our money in our pocket, and also dates. Like a woman would get pissed if you went out to the park and fed the ducks because you're not spending real money. But we should go back to the standard of like, if I go out and feed the ducks, we're connecting with nature, we're having a real conversation, and I know that you're not going to rob me of money because you're not dependent on this, because that's not the reason why you're here, because you're willing to feed ducks with me at the park, which a loaf of bread costs nothing. Like, we need to rein all this back and have our culture not be eroded by consumerism to this degree.
Yeah, I think that's another issue too, and I think this goes on to the men's side, is that men are neglecting like some traits in women that they should actually seek above like looks, above like sex appeal, above all these other things, right? And that is financial literacy. Like if she doesn't have financial literacy, you can tell as if she was like a whore. Like if she has like too much sex appeal, she's flirtatious with other men. It's like you can tell a woman if she does not have like financial literacy. She's gonna have like jewelry on. She's gonna have name brand clothes. They're gonna have the blasted across her, I don't know, her purse, across the things she wear, and like that's a woman you should avoid. Because that's a problem. That's gonna bite you in the ass later down the line when she wants to, like, oh, I want this expensive thing. I want this $2,000 watch or $2,000 necklace. Like, that's the issue I have with men today is they like negate the I want a woman with financial literacy because they want to seek the just because she's hot. But
we need to have balls. We need to have balls. I'll say it right now because I'm about solutions and I'm about that action. One thing we need to do is have balls. We need to put our fucking foot down. That's what needs to happen. We don't do that. And what I mean by putting our foot down is women will bastardize our own pockets against us. I'll tell you how they do this. I'll be on a podcast with a bunch of women, and I used to be on podcast IRL a lot. Right, with OF workers and stuff, and I argued against them all the time. I wasn't there because they were there. I was there as like the antithesis of what they do, the anti what they are and what they do. And here's how they do this. Once I say I like coffee dates, or I like taking, the first thing I like doing is taking it. They have this revulsion. Coffee. You can't appreciate me and take me out to a real dinner. Like, you can't do $100 or 150 is nothing. You're broke if you don't see. Now they're shaming you because you're not buying into consumerism, and they'll do this often. They'll do this thing where it's like, as soon as you talk about a coffee date, they're like, oh, you're a brokey. And I'll say, hold on. So you mean to tell me that during my vetting process to make sure that you aren't a gold digger and to make sure that you aren't the kind that relies on money, in that way, if I face hardship, you aren't going to run from me the first relationship storm that we have or any of this other shit, coffee is going to be the dividing factor? Yeah, I will pass. And this is the thing, though. This is why I say men need to develop some kind of balls and fortitude. We should not cave to the shame that they shame us using our own pocketbooks against us. And this is what they do. They'll call you a brokey. They'll call you everything else because you want to build a connection before you pay money to somebody that you don't even know. I don't know you well enough to spend $150, $100 on dinner. I don't even know if you're going to call me back, but I'm going to spend $100 from the gate. To me, this doesn't make any sense. I can tolerate buying a coffee and then, she stood me up the next week or something happens or she ghosts because ghosting is a thing. Why would I spend $100, $150? I don't care if a woman calls me brokey because I'm very choosy with how I spend my money in this ghosting cold.
Wait. Oh, Marte, audio.
Let me, I'm back. The only way that women connect these days and men are through a phone, right? Through this. I haven't met you. I can't feel any vibes through swiping. I can't do any of this other shit, but I'm going to spend $150 on a date and then, or $100, whatever this is, only for you to possibly ghost me because it's not guaranteed, because it's somehow a courtesy. That to me is crazy. I think at the very minimum, men should put their foot down, develop a standard and a boundary. If you put fences up and you start tearing down these fences, you'll forget the reason why the fence was up in the first place. And I think another thing I'll say too is that unless we have a standard that we uphold to and we're consistent about that, we will be disrespected ourselves constantly because we don't show any boundaries. This is what happens when infiltration of feminism happens to men in society.
No, I think that's a good point. The thing is, I experienced again household bad finances. It was a matriarchal household. And the things were, and I developed like an understanding of when I need to keep my mouth shut about how much money I had or made, because they would use the shaming method of, if you don't give me X or if you have Y, then you're not a man, or you're not a man enough until you put out this amount of money. Like, I don't care. You're not going to shame me into spending every dime I have on you. And it's just, it's something that more men need to hear and completely like shut themselves on, how do you say, like build the walls against like the shame. Become like what is it called? A thicker skin. Have a thicker skin when it comes to like financial shame. Because at the end of the day, I would rather save the money and be called like, oh, you're not a man, than like spend it out to like, try to prove myself and a lot of these things. And it's not just that. I think there's a lot, like, if you're surrounded by guys that also want to put a lot of money for either show, or they want to put it out for just like wasting I want to go out and get drunk and like maybe meet some women. I think there's many other ways you can save that money and put it towards a better, how you say, put it towards a better hobby or put it towards an event that you will benefit from, that you're not gonna have to waste all of that money. I do have, as much as I don't believe that, how do you say it? I think a better put would be even playing video games at home and saving that $300 instead of going out and getting drunk. I would rather play with my friends on video games or meet up. And we talk, like, dude, I would literally had great conversations. I had great conversations with my friends just by talking, not going out. And I think
that is such a good point. The reason why that's such a good point is because these are all things that women bastardize all the time. She'll say, like, I posted like a short where there's a woman, like a guy literally like made a bed, like, well, a version of him threw pillows in the bed with his girl and then snuck off so he can play games and stuff like that because maybe he needed outlet. She like woke up in the middle of the night, was pissed, found out that the body next to him was like a dummy body made of pillows and shit. And she went to the living room and said, no, you're not doing this, and unplugged this game and said, you're not playing till next Tuesday, and stormed off. I was like, what? Have we degraded ourselves to the point to where it's like we're not being afforded the outlets that we were used to getting, or if I wasn't with her, this would be like a normative outlet. Maybe I needed that before I reached my mental breaking point. Who knows? But here's the thing though. You make a very good point. If I'm at home playing Call of Duty, Halo, things like this, I'm not blowing money because I guarantee you every time that I go out, it costs minimum $50 just to go out. I'm spending some kind of money somewhere. But if I stay home and play Call of Duty, play some online game, I'm keeping my money in my pocket. I'm drinking my own beverages from the fridge. I'm eating my own food, all this stuff, and I'm saving money. I saved $50 by not just leaving my doorstep, and it's crazy. I'll even ask anybody in the chat, if you guys leave your house and don't spend a dime, let me know. Let me know how you do it too, because the whole world, through marketing, advertising, and media and everything else, is constantly trying to do suggestions towards your pocket every time you leave. So I think that when you stay home, you keep your money in your pocket and you mind your business. And if you have a girl that's like into like listening to you game and stuff, and she's kind of like watching and entertained slightly by that, I think you got a W there. I think that there's nothing wrong with that for sure.
Yeah, no, the gamers they're onto something. Like, get a gamer girl. you will save a ton of money. And I think also, because I've seen that clip that you're talking about where she goes in and she's like, what are you doing? You need to go back to bed. First off, I think if he's like what is it called? Like a bum, if he's not doing anything with his life, like I can understand that, but like you shouldn't be the guy that's letting your girlfriend bother you like that in the first place. But if he's like, if he works, if he gets up and he goes to work and he's paying the bills too, like why are you getting mad at him? He's not going out. Why are you mothering him in the way? Like, because he's not going out, he's not cheating on you, he's at home, he's not wasting money, he's just playing Call of Duty. And that's another thing too. It's like you can have fun with your friends at any distance. Most of my friends are in Houston, Texas. I left and I came to Connecticut, right? And I still game with my friends on the weekend or whenever we're free on like Marvel Rivals. If anybody knows,
hell yeah,
yeah. But like that's what I'm talking about. I'd rather do that. And Marvel Rivals is free to play, and not promoting it, but like it's free. It's free. And I can play online whenever I want to with my friends instead of going out and spending $200 or $300 at a bar or something. To do what? Get fucked up and get like, oh, I'm gonna see like this girl. No, like I think there's a lot of ways that we can. I think we have to be innovative today. I think we need to find ways that we can entertain ourselves here. And I do believe entertainment can be cheap. I think taking up a hobby like writing, I think taking up a hobby like researching something that you genuinely like online can save a ton of money. But people don't want to do that. People want to go and like drink alcohol. They want to do these things where it's like, I want to be social. You can be social without getting drunk. I 100% believe that. And me too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's a ton of ways that we can. I think even cooking, you have a cooking date is also a great way to save money. You don't have to go out. You don't have to worry about finding a parking spot. You don't have to worry about like any type of reservations. If you and your girl cook and you have dinner here, it's amazing, and you get that bonding experience. You get the date. You get like all like great tasting food. That's what I think we need to do.
Yeah, I think we do need to go back to that. I think we go back to a culture where we're saving money. Money in our pocket. I think it's good. I think that we've gone away from that. Well, and that's the thing though, is we're moving away from culture. We're moving away from tradition. And I think that's all bad, man. We should go back to doing things with our family at home. And even if you don't have the family, start practicing now to bring back culture and tradition. And if you're a guy, learn to cook, man. Learn to cook. It's going to save you a shit ton of money. And you're going to have something that you could do with the wife if you want to or not, or whatever, right? Because a woman isn't always going to be there to cook for you. But if you cook for yourself, you're going to save a shit ton of money. Let's be honest.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There was something else too. Oh, so I think another thing, and I'm like AI is another thing. I do think that AI is pushing. I think it's going to shorten the gap of learning skills, which is, I think, if you're online, if you're home and you decide to like, oh, I'm going to learn AI, I'm going to do all these things when it comes to like advancing my knowledge when it comes to AI. I don't think it's a bad thing. I know it's like a lot of people, especially when it comes to like the left, feminism, all this, they hate on AI the most. And it's like, why? I do believe it's going to lead us into that next step of like, what is it called? Like next step into society. It's a huge movement. Like, no, somebody say AI is shit. No, dude, I do believe if it's used correctly. I think that the problem is when people use it for like AI porn has exploded and it is everywhere. It's like, why are we using that's bullshit? Like that is like garbage. Why are we using it to make more brain rot instead of using it to actually advance skills and do stuff like that? I do think that AI is a great skill to look into.
Well, AI is problematic, but I'm going to play this real quick to show you what I'm talking about. Pumpkinhead, good to see you in the chat. Also, this is the video I'm talking about because I had to re-download it. It's from my own shorts, but I'm going to play it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, guys can't even get an outlet because I'm pretty sure that this guy saved a lot of money just by playing games online. And even if he tries to find an outlet, look at what happens. Here we go. There's no way in God's green earth that you're going to talk to me like my mom and not my woman. Hold on. Bring this down real quick. Were you seeing it or no?
No, I just seen it was like a second image of you.
Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Give me 1 second real quick. See if I can remove this. Hopefully this doesn't take you out. Let me see if I could take that out real quick and delete that. Stop that screen. All right, you're still here. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick.
There we go.
In God's green earth that you're going to talk to me like my mom and not my woman.
Are you fucking serious? It's 2 a.m. and you're playing the fucking game?
I thought you were asleep.
That you really set up a fake fucking body to come and play the fucking game in the guest room? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Go to bed, bro.
I just wanted to play the game.
No, you're not getting this shit for a week now, bro.
Are you serious?
Go, get your ass to bed. What the hell is your problem?
I just want to play the game.
No, now you're not gonna play the game for a week.
Like, that's not like, if you want to be my mom, you're not going to be dating me. Like, I'm telling you right now, that is wild. She was like, what are you doing, bro? You're not going to play the game for a week. Like, that's the kind of relationships that guys are willing to put up with these days because they don't know how to put their foot down. And that's what I'm talking about. When you have that boundary set, it's like, I believe you're going to be respected by the right woman. She's going to say, well, he holds his ground with me. So that way, if anybody else tries to punk him, he's for sure not going to let anybody else do that because I can't even run over him. I think you're going to build some modicum of respect if you do that. But the guy here hasn't established any boundaries, any standards, any of that stuff. So it's like all he has now is a mother that's going to end up resenting him. And to me, this is wild. But back to the consumerism. Like, I'm pretty sure that online gaming has probably saved him some kind of money, right? You have people who are a little polarizing. They'll be on World of Warcraft and then spend a shit ton of money doing that. Like, I forgot what they can do, but there's a lot of purchasing. Yeah, that can happen. But I'm talking about the average gamer that gets on and is like, bro, I like to play an hour to unwind or 2 hours to unwind. That's about it. You're saving because that time could be spent going out, spending all this money on alcohol, drinks, food. Now all of a sudden you're like, fuck, I spent like $150 and I have nothing to show for it. And I have a headache. And I'm just like, bro, you could have saved $100. So it's, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I think a lot of this is by people being responsible with their time and things that they do. I think gaming gets a bad rap, to be honest with you.
Have you seen the, it's like a list of the least unattractive hobbies for men by women. Like they rank it, number one is
you. They're shaming you by doing that. And it's like the least attractive dates. You ever seen the thing that women talk about? They'll put Cheesecake Factory as like, that's disrespectful to take a woman, like, or a top date and all that. I'm like, really? So you're going to shame me into spending $200 on a date. That's how they're doing this. Well, like, I think it was like last year, the year before, they came out with like what women tolerate for the first date. All of these were like really nice places. Cheesecake Factory, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I would love to go to Cheesecake Factory, but she's too good for Cheesecake Factory now, or a coffee date to sit down and actually have a real conversation where if she ghosts you, it's not any sweat off your back. You don't regret it. But if you're spending $200 on a woman because that's what she wants, she could just up and be like, it's cool. I'm not calling him back. I got my meal out of him. And it's like, how many other people are you getting meals out of? Like, that consumerism ends up being thievery, and she ends up being a walking robbery in progress. That's really what happens sometimes these days. And the dating market is treacherous. I'll have you know, it's insane.
No, I've seen some statistics also. Like right now, it's appalling. But another thing too, I even think like Cheesecake Factory is considered one of like those higher end restaurants. It's like, it is expensive because you're paying like what, $30 for a cheesecake slice, dude. Honestly, I think it should be normalized to go to like a buffet, dude. Go to
bro. See, if a woman, I'm telling you right now, if a woman asked me, she was like, can we go to a buffet tonight, bro? She might get married. Like, that's a thing, man. I gotta resist trying to think about marriage with her if she wants to go to a buffet. And to top it off, if she wants to go to a buffet because she thinks that that's what's going to make me happy, that's even better, because she's not thinking of herself. She's thinking about me, because I want to have that reciprocal relationship where I'm thinking about her before me. I think that women have lost this. They've lost that ability to think about their spouse or other person before them. Usually women these days, because they bought onto feminism and they're 30 years old with cats, no family or kids, and they can't get a refund, they're looking back at this and saying, I should have did all this. But if they put other people before them, that's what feminism really should have did, but it's never did that. They would actually be happy, because now you're in a reciprocal relationship with a person. I'm happy because I'm going here for you, babe. And then she's like, no, I'm doing this for you. What happened to this? What happened to this love story that we never see in movies? But men get demonized because women have to be strong and independent to the point to where they get all these years off their life and they're 30 with no kids, 40 with no kids, and even 60 with no kids. And next thing you know, they turn around, they can't get a refund on what feminism has sold them, and they bought it. They bought the lie. And they turn around and they're like, damn, all these dates that I bought men out of, and I got free foodie dates and all this other shit. Meanwhile, I have no family. I lived on consumerism. I have like 4 bags that are more than a car payment in my home, no family, and I have all these cats. To me, it's like, we can see where women's happiness is taking a plummet through the basement right now because of their own habits and spending. You ever see that? It's like an experiment called the mouse. I forgot what the Mouse Utopia. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I follow the Mouse Utopia.
What women are doing is they're living the Mouse Utopia right now. They're getting everything that they've wanted in society, right? Everything. Meanwhile, they're ducking all the accountability, ducking all the duties, and ducking all the responsibilities. Just like I said in my mantra, I was saying, well, if I go out with a Rolex, with a supercar, and I get shit-faced drunk on the wrong side of town, you can't tell me anything, right? Oh, no, because you're a guy. You're supposed to have common sense. But the moment I tell a woman not to do the same thing, I'm doing victim blaming, and I'm pushing off great culture the whole time. And it's like, that's what I'm doing. Why the double standard? This is what feminism has done. It's turned women into expensive ass slot machines with 2 legs that we have to date. Now I'm taking a risk dating another slot machine that may ghost me after a $200 date. This is ridiculous. This is a standard that we're going to follow. I'm going to say this. Men need to start putting their foot down, developing a boundary, and putting up fences. Otherwise, you're not going to know who's an ally and who you're competing with, because the very same woman that says she's on your side could be competing with you as a wife. She'll tell you in the same breath, because I'm supposed to be strong and independent, and consumerism, right? You're not making enough money. You're not doing enough for me. We've turned these women into weak versions of men. That's what we've done. And these women are now following the same mantra men are supposed to follow. Like, you want to make more money, you want to make CEO and do all this. Women are now doing this. They're outpacing men in college. They're now outpacing men in earning. They're now outpacing men in like holding all the value and all the custody over children. So they're the new fathers now. Women are outpacing us so much. Now they have nobody to date. They have nobody to have kids with. They have cats. They have food. We've heard this time and time again, and that's where they're at. Now they're pure consumerism. Now the government's happy because they divided homes and they're spending more tax money in there and making more money. Uncle Sam's happy as a clam. That's all I'm going to say.
No, yeah. I've seen a lot. Like, have you seen? It's similar to the rat utopia, and it was another study done on rats where they had given the rat water, and it was laced with I don't want to say the exact name, but like a specific type of substance that got them really high. And when the rat was isolated, all it did was go back to that water, and it just took more and more and more water. And when they placed it with more rats, it stopped drinking that water. And I think that's where like socializing comes in. And I think one of the worst things too, like to have a controlling girlfriend, is when you do not have any socialization with your bros. I think women that demonize like bro time and going out with your bros is like, it's detrimental to your health, your physical health, and everything you are as a man, because you need that unwinding. Even though like for instance, like my girlfriend and I, we spend a lot of time together. She knows like I need time with my bros. Like I need time with my best friends. I go out, I'll talk to them on the phone. I'll go out with them, or I would have I play video games with them, and as is. And I think like the problem we're facing as a man is we're isolating ourselves. We're not talking to other men. We're not like having conversations, even debates with other men. Not like the oh my god, my light went out. Not like the
Yo, you're like saving money. That's what you're doing. You're less electricity bill for you. It's like
oh, I'm trying to get this back up. My bad. Let's see. But yeah, it's not like and I like the debates that we say where you feel completely safe, right? It's like the actual debates in front, like face to face with another man. Because if you say something like another man doesn't like, and he's like, "Oh, I can like punch you in the face or something," like that's the thing. I think we should like be more outspoken now than we ever have. Like now we need to be more outspoken. Is what I'm saying, because it gives you like that Russian testosterone. It makes you feel like, no, I can hold my ground because I can defend my point.
Yeah, but people will tell you, proponents will tell you, is it too late? Do we have any time? And it's like, see, you got your light back on. But that's what people say. Well, I've already been this far in my life and done this. I've gotten this far and I'm doing okay. But it's like they have this fear of loss. I think guys need to get over the fear of loss. If she leaves you, she would have left you on month 9 when you said no. Like it's the same woman that would have left you in the marriage when you said no to the purchase or whatever this is. If you keep caving, she's now going to start leading the relationship. That's what's going to happen. How am I lying? Because I think that if you hold to a certain standard, women are going to protect you. And I'll give you an example. Because we're talking about consumerism and spending, if a woman tells me, Marte, I'm buying the dress, and we have a shared account, no, we can't afford it because we're saving up for this trip that you wanted or some important family event that's going to happen that I'm organizing. And she's like, I'm buying the dress. I don't care. I'm getting it. We'll find a way to make up for it and all this. And me being logical, I'm going to say, no, we can't afford it. The dress is $3,500. We can wait. The dress is always going to be there. Yeah, but somebody else is going to buy. Honey, they make duplicates of it. They make more than one. I'm pretty sure we can get another one. We can wait. Let's be a little patient. And then in this hypothetical, she raises her voice and she says, I'm tired of you controlling me and financially abusing me. And she says all these other things she has this emotional argument. What I'm going to do is calmly say, no, we're not getting it. I'm not going to tell you anymore. Don't question it. We're not doing it. She takes a vase, throws it across the room. Of course, I'm telling you this for a reason. The vase breaks against the wall. And I said, we're not doing it. Fine. She walks off. Now, think about that scenario I told you. In another universe, the same situation happens. And she says, we're getting that dress. I don't care, this and that. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, damn, if I don't fold and just agree with her, she's going to keep bitching. And I fold. She now knows my threshold at which I'll buy the dress. She's like, if I bitch on the second time, he usually caves and does this. We don't know this as men, but we're setting a standard by our ability to not hold to our nose. If we don't hold to these no's, women will then see this because they're, shit testing us to see when we'll break. We need to be able to be consistent. And what happens is like, if you can't hold to a certain standard with women, next thing you know, like let's say 2 years pass and you're the guy that says no on the second or first time and then you break, right? Now all of a sudden she's like, we're doing this. And you're like, okay, honey. Now all of a sudden she's telling you things like, what? You're going to do what? Oh yeah, I forgot to ask if I can go out. Honey, is it okay if I can go out with my boys? Like now all of a sudden you're in this position. It's like, but we always question, like, how did I get into this position where I have to ask my wife for permission? And it's like, bro, it all started because you were unable to say no. That's literally how it started, because you caved and bought the dress that you shouldn't have bought because you couldn't afford it, but you did it because who knows? You just didn't know how to hold to a no, and you had the fear of loss. The fear of loss controlled you. And it's like, no, she actually still would have respected you if you would have said no, because you held to a standard. It's the same thing if her dad says no and he doesn't break. Why the fuck do you break? That's the same guy who gave her away, her wedding, to you to say, I'm no longer her father. You are now. You're holding responsibility because I'm giving my daughter away. That symbolizes I'm changing over that responsibility and duty over to the husband now. Therefore, if an emergency happens, you don't have to call your dad. You have a husband now. You see how this exchange happens? But it's funny, she won't do this to her dad, but she'll do this to you. Now, all of a sudden, this whole role is being inverted at home.
Yeah, basically, it's like the more ground he gives, the less attraction she has for him. I agree with that. I've seen that where he becomes more of a, I mean, I guess like there's no other way to say it other than a simp, and the attraction slowly starts to wane, and eventually it's just not at all, and he becomes like a I don't even know what to call it, slave or
Well, I'll ask you a question. Vale, what's your...
Oh, audio dropped again.
Should be able to hear me now. Okay.
I got you.
Back in it. Good to see you, Bandit, in the chat, by the way. Vale, I got to ask you a question real quick, because we're kind of all over the place, but I want to get back to economics. But I do want to ask you a question. What's your definition of a simp?
A simp, a guy that puts too much effort into a woman, like knowing he's not going to get any like sex. Not no, but he, like in his deep down in his mind, he's like, if I keep trying, and like to no avail, he's not going to get any sex.
So it's a guy that wants to get. So is it only like definitionally pertaining sex or what?
I think usually they feel as though if they keep trying, eventually they're gonna get like a crumb of pussy out of it. And they never do. And this is why I believe, like, I have a strong belief, like, I don't trust simps. They will sell you out for the smallest crumb of pussy they can
for
get.
sure. So this is my definition of what a simp is. A simp is a person who engages in an unequal value exchange to their detriment. That's my definition. I've yet to see a better definition out there. And the reason why I say that is because I can go to Burger King, right? But let's say I go to Burger King and I like, these are dollars. I have these dollars and they're napkins, and I spend these dollars to get in. And I'm like, okay, $5 to get into Burger King. All right, that's $10 to smell the cheese. All right, that's $50 to get in the back and look at the buns. So, and then all this money that I brought in that club called Burger King, I leave broker than when I came and more hungrier than I came. Thus, it's an unequal value exchange, meaning all this money left my hand and I'm more hungrier and hornier than I came. So to me, that's what the strip club is, and that's what OF is. But guys will buy into this because they want the illusion more than they want to face their own discipline and have to suffer a little bit to actually work to endure to get the real thing that they have to actually maintain, because they're going to have to be beholden to a duty and a sense of purpose. And they run from this. Like, we don't have a generation of guys that run into gunfire. We have a bunch of guys that'll run away from gunfire, and they're airsoft bullets. They'll run away from that shit, from fake ass gun. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But when you say that guys need to get out more often and hang out, yes, the hell we do. And to me, I think that, believe it or not, if I'm hanging around a bunch of dudes, I'm literally spending less than I am with a bunch of women out hanging around with a bunch of women. That's what's going to happen. Tell me if I'm wrong about this, but if I'm out there and there's like a brewery and I'm with a bunch of guys, we're paying for our own shit unless some guy maybe it's his birthday and he wants to pay for you or whatever, you know, the whole group. But guys typically tend to be independent and take care of themselves. We'll go out and do this and we'll be logical and we'll say, you know what? I don't want the burger. It's a little bit too much. And we'll like be really rational with our boys. And we'll say, I'm only going to get 2 brewskis and then that's it. I'm going to cut it off. Switch this whole group dynamic to women. Let's say I'm out there with women. Bro, I might be liable to spend 3 times as much if I'm hanging out with a bunch of female friends than I would be with guys. Because guys don't live beyond their necessities when we hang out with each other. But women, if you're out with a flock of women, I guarantee you they're going to be looking at the image of how things look. They're going to look at the optics like, oh, that's shiny. Let's go buy this thing. Oh, that's cool. Because they want the memories. They want the feelings and stuff like that. Guys, we're just like, bro, it's just a beer. We're going to get cut off on this or whatever. We'll talk shit to each other. And that's it. But that's the experience that guys have. We're different. But touching grass with guys should be something that's normalized in society. But this is why I demonize guys. If you want to have female friends, it's probably going to be way more expensive, probably more detriment to you because I guarantee you, Vale, I'll tell you this right now, Val. I'm not walking you to your car. If we go out and get some brewskis, bro, I don't have to walk you to your car. But Sandra, I'm walking her to her car because she needs to be protected. And if she gets mugged, I have to die for her because somebody's going to mug her. You can take care of yourself, but you see the things that I have to do for her. I don't have to do this for you. You're another grown ass. I'm not opening the door for you. I'm not going to be like, bro, I got your coffee this time. And then I got it the next time. I'm not going to be chivalrous towards you, which could be a more financial expenditure, right? If I hang out with a bunch of dudes, I'm buying for myself and then that's it. Unless I'm like, hey, bro, I got it or whatever. But then that's like 2 brothers doing their shit. But that's it. But it's like, I think that consumerism has kind of like warped the sense of the way that women think these days. Feminism, consumerism, and the propagandization has infiltrated our culture so much that a woman that you date can have you live beyond your means to the point to where you're like, how do I stave off poverty? Like, I need to maintain this image that I have while not losing her at the same time. I guarantee you somebody out there is living this shit. They're like, I need to maintain my girlfriend, you know, meaning she doesn't leave me because the moment she gets bored, she's going to leave. Well, what's going to prevent her from being bored and leaving you? Well, entertainment costs money. Keeping her around means shiny shit that you have to buy. And it's like, oh man, why are we living this world to where it's like, we're like $200 away from an emergency being homeless because some woman is at home and she's a consumerist and she's propagandized to buy everything and doesn't understand how money works and she can't do math. This is crazy.
Yeah. It's funny because I do think when it comes to like socializing and it comes to like being outgoing, I know it's like correlated with testosterone. My grandfather, for example, he's not afraid to walk up to women and like be flirtatious with them. He's like, hey, what's up, girl? Why aren't you smiling? He's 75 years old and he has 640 nanograms per deciliter testosterone. It's insane. He has like above the average testosterone for men around my age, which is 26, for him to be 75. And I think
that's crazy.
It's wild. And another thing, I think you like doing things that are considered dangerous will also do that to you. I went out with a few friends, right? And we went across town to like not the best side of town. And it was to drop off some diapers. And one of my friends gets out the car and she goes to drop off some like baby supplies, like diapers or something. And we noticed a guy, he's walking with like his hand in his pocket, kind of like walking like a weird way. And I'm joking with my friend. I'm like, oh, I bet he has a gun. And my friend comes back and she's like, oh yeah, he has a gun. He's waiting for his ops. He's like right in front of the car. And like that in itself, just like to know that you're in like a dangerous area. I'm not saying do this, by the way, but I'm saying like putting yourself in like high, like vulnerable situations, not to do this exactly, but any variation of that makes you feel like, oh shit, like you get your blood pumping. It's like, okay, I can do dangerous shit. This is really going to happen as long as you're not going out the car and like fucking with them. But even doing something like that is going to boost your testosterone. It makes you feel more like a man. Like I can go into danger and I'm not going to like pussy out of it. But then too, it's like, you know, don't do anything stupid is what I'm saying. But even like putting yourself in more like high stakes situations is what we need to do. Not exactly going to the.
It depends. I would be like, bro, it just depends. Don't put yourself in a situation that's going to be really detrimental to your health. Yeah. Right? I mean, by all means, get out there and touch grass. So I've had my recent run-in with consumerism, I think it was like 3 months ago. I was on a date And it was like the last date I've ever been on. And this woman, it's like we started talking on social media, and of course there are women that don't like guys that are too short. I'm 5'5" and it's short as hell to like a lot of people. So anyways, like I started dating this woman, and this is what happened. So upon dating this woman on the single date, like I mean, we haven't dated. We were going to meet that night. I got reservations to Ocean 44, which is like a really nice seafood restaurant out here. Like you need reservations, whatever you can get reservations. She's tall. She's like 5'11", right? She's done some modeling in the past or whatever, and she's 20 minutes late. Like literally 20 minutes late, and just tells me. She gets in the door, doesn't respond to my text. Hey, are you okay? Whatever. It's like 10 minutes past. Are you still on your way? Doesn't respond to anything, but leaves me on scene and comes through the door. And she walks in with this attitude, and she's like, you'll be okay. I showed up. What? Like so I was like, whatever. You know what? I ordered like a diet soda, and the person comes out with the menus. They put a menu on her side, put a menu on my side. All right, sir, what'll it be? Or ma'am, what'll it be? And then she gets like the lobster. She gets a bucket with a bottle. She gets like some appetizer that's like escargot or something, like whatever. And then she gets like another thing that she says, oh, you know, I'm going to be hungry later. You don't mind if I take something home, right? And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like you had to get the lot and you got the steak and you got like, I'm just like, there's no way this woman's eating all this. So the waiter asked me, he was like, do you want anything? And I was like, I'm still looking at the menu. So this is what she does. She takes her phone and she does this to her food. She like takes pictures of her food. And I'm like, oh, so she's like arranging it. And then she like takes and I'm like, is this for fucking Instagram? Like she sees all the food. And I was like, I know you got here, but you haven't even said like 2 words to me, let alone anything else. And she was like, oh, and you're going to be rude. And I was like, hold on. You're literally on your phone snapping pictures of the food. And it looks like you cropped me out of the pictures. Like, it's like, this is fucking disrespectful as shit. Right. I told her this and I said, it looks like you cropped me out of the pictures. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, you're one of those. She was like, if you're a brokey, just say it. She just says, if you're a brokey, just say it. And I said, you know what? I said, I think this date's over. Like, and I was sipping my diet soda and I was calm. I said, I think this date's over. And then she says, she like kind of like looks off in the distance for a little bit and like, cause she's trying to think about what to say. And she says, fuck yeah, this date's over. And she like pushes her silverware off the table. All you hear is like this loud clinging and clanging because there's like this big ass fucking spoon and all this. Everybody in the restaurant turns and looks at us. Right. I'm sitting at the table and I'm just like, fuck, she's causing a scene too. And she's like, yeah, we're done. And then she is like, take care of all this too. And she like makes a beeline out the door. So I'm like, this woman like left me with the bill, left all this food on the table. So I was like, whatever. So I wasn't tripping. I sat there, drank the rest of my diet soda in the glass. I like brushed my shoulders off, got up, and I was like, whatever. And I left like, I think some change or whatever it was for the soda and started walking off. The guy at the front, mind you, this is like the mentality of some people out here. I started making a beeline towards the door to leave. And this guy like touches my chest at the door. And I looked down at his hand touching me and he was like, sir, you got to pay for all that. And I said, all that shit on the table? I didn't order any of that. You let a grown ass woman buy her own shit at this table and then walk out of here. None of this shit I ordered. And he's like, sir, I'm going to need you to turn around and pay for all that because we don't steal around here. If you want to steal, I'm going to call the cops. And I was like, call the cops. And he was like, matter of fact, I'll get the manager. I was like, get the manager. Matter of fact, just get him. So I'm sitting there and everybody's like staring at me because the silverware drew all this attention. They're already looking at me because the guy stopped me from leaving and all this. And there's like, you can see the lobster on the table. The steak was untouched and all this other shit. Oh. The manager comes out and I tell the manager, I didn't order any of that shit. That wasn't me. You let this grown ass woman who's of voting age, above voting age, and can do her own shit, independent, leave your restaurant and order that. I only order a diet soda. And then he went and talked to the other person at the counter. They came back and he said, "Sir, have a good evening." And I left. But here's the lesson. I could have been one of these guys to be like, "Oh shit, she stood me with the bill. Let me go ahead and pay," because, bro, like, I think fear of loss is driving a lot of guys in the society to where they're making decisions when they get screwed over by women that they don't have to pay up for. They're ponying up for things. And that's an extreme example that happened to me like 3 months ago on a crazy ass date with somebody who was super entitled because maybe she thought she was a model or whatever. But it's like, we have to learn to draw the line and put our foot down. If we don't put our foot down, you'd be surprised what you can get for saying no. You'll be surprised at the respect you'll get if you say no to women. All you have to do, and that's like a superpower nowadays, the moment you say no and you develop a standard and put your foot down and say, this is the line, the fence, because the fence is there for a reason. It's to keep the predation out of your life. All you're going to do is be taken advantage of by anybody that comes along in life, let alone feminism.
Yeah, I think saying no is a skill. And I think most men especially are afraid of confrontation. I think we've gotten to the point where women are more adapting to be more confrontational than men. And that's putting us at a huge disadvantage because like for instance, you did a perfect example of when you could have just been like, "Oh, well, I'm going to pay, you know, I don't want to look bad," because all eyes are on you. Most people, and like that shame, that perceived shame of like, "Oh, people are looking at me. People like I should do the right thing and pay up because she stuck me with the bill and just be the good guy." No, I do think like developing that skill and becoming a more confrontational man is going to put you miles above most people. Most guys specifically are not confrontational. There's a lot of things where I think confrontation can get you not to be in the sense of I'm gonna go and fight my way through the world and I'm just gonna go pick fights and everything. No, but when you are confronted with a you need to do something and you genuinely don't want to do it, it's like, no, I don't have to. Like, no, like fight, and it does get you places.
It takes some foresight, and I'll tell you where the foresight came in because I automatically thought about this. You have to realize that when I was sitting drinking that diet soda, I was thinking about my next action and what I should do. But before any of that, like us as guys, we always think about image, optics, how things look. I was like, let's say that I get stopped, and I thought about all this. I'm very, I would say, strategic when it comes to certain things. I was like, if I get arrested because I didn't pay for some other woman's food that left me with the bill, this would turn me into a headline test that actually doesn't make me look good. Because this passes the headline test, this will bring up a good controversial topic and I'll be on the news because they'll say, man didn't want to pay for dinner that woman walked out on him with. So I'm like, I can actually argue that. I can do this. It'll pass the headline test. And I guarantee you, if they try to demonize me, I'm going to have a story and a great argument as to why I walked out. But men, I think we should have foresight to think ahead and say, let me look at the outcome of this. Can I fight this? Is there great injustice to be had on my end? Yes, I can say this. If she stiffed me with the bill and she walked out and created a scene, I now have witnesses because everybody turned around in their booths and looked at me. And then not to mention this, I had somebody that put their hands on my chest. So I was physically made physical contact with somebody. And this begins a story of like, women have become too entitled now on News 5. It's like, so we have to really think about these things and how these can blow up either in our face or not. But it's like, I'll bite the bullet on this one and fight this one because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people saw what happened, and I can actually argue my way out of this one and debate my way out of this one pretty well.
Yeah. No, it does need like some type of critical thinking of like, okay, is this something that's actually gonna like harm me? Is this something that's going to like something that I genuinely don't have any ground to stand on? And I think if you genuinely believe and you see evidence that backs you up, 100% fight it. I think that goes with most things today. I think that as time has gone on, because we've become less less confrontational, we just get bowled over all the time. And I think that's another reason why like our grandfathers and our fathers have had like higher testosterone, is because they're not afraid to fight stuff. They're not afraid to be confrontational. They're not afraid to push back on things they disagree with. I think that like another thing too, when it goes for like debates or when it comes to like online confrontation, a lot of people will not say anything in front of you. A lot of people will climb up if it's like offline. And like online, I agree that people should get their points. I'm always for free speech. I'm always for people should have the opposing opinion. But I think it goes for like people. A lot of people online will clam up if they were to say it in person. And I think no, you should say it in person. But I think that also you have to, of course, if you see like 5 dudes and they're all like getting hyped, you know, you're not gonna want to like push it too far because hey, okay, I'm not gonna get my ass beat today. Like let's just leave it. You also gotta have like that critical thinking. But no, I completely agree. With,
I
like,
think
backing yourself
it's
up.
not just critical thinking. I think you have to be competent in your ability to kind of defend yourself. If you're not competent, there's no way you're going to be confident in doing this. It isn't just critical thinking, but it's also competency. If you don't experience bravery, it's hard to relate to, because that's like a thing that you see in movies. It's a thing you see in scripts, all this other shit. And it's like, bravery has to be experienced for you to actually relate to it. Other than that, it just becomes something somebody else sees and you're vicariously living bravery through somebody else's eyes. But it's like, no, you have to develop the fortitude, because if you're not like, men have to put themselves in situations where they say no, where you feel like your heartbeat is beating in your throat, or it's like, damn, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to try to remain stoic and just hold it down. And then once you experience this, it's not so bad the next time it happens. And then you do it again and you're like, damn, I can get used to this. Now I'm becoming more comfortable being competent in confronting things. But if you don't do this and it becomes a foreign thing, you don't know how to fight back or push back. And next thing you know, you're a male victim. And now you're in a relationship. And now you're being sued for alimony, child support. Now you're getting robbed because she walked out on the dinner. All this shit happens. But it's like, you have to be able to say no. You have to be able to put your foot down. It starts with one woman walking away. That's all the bravery entails, is like just one woman walking away, not having a fear of loss, and just saying, there's how many billions of these on the planet, but I'm going to stress over one because if I say no, I'm going to lose her. Oh, wow. It's like the fear of loss has just monopolized my whole life. Now all of a sudden I'm frozen. Now there's no development that's going to happen in my life. And it's like, now we're stagnant. Crazy.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It starts somewhere, and like starting like one brick, one baby step at a time. Of like, no, like light, baby steps. If you don't feel comfortable, I don't know, sticking up for yourself, and like, I don't know, a bully situation, stick up for yourself at like a fast food restaurant. Like, hey, I got my order wrong. Some people, it's even hard for people to do that. And I think another thing too, when it comes to like socializing, is we neglect socializing. And I know this may seem counterintuitive to the point I made about gaming, but this is why I do think you should have those conversations with your boys, have those conversations with your friends in general. Because if we're not socializing, we're not building that backbone to like say no when we meet that confrontation like in our face, when it's right in front of us. Because we're always protected by like, okay, we're protected by a screen, we're protected by something. And it's like, no, if you like going out and another point to that was like, yeah, you go out with your boys, you're not going to spend that much, like going to the economics part. But it's like you just going out to like a park, or you going out to I don't know, feed the ducks, pigeons or whatever. It's like you're talking, not saying your boys are gonna do that, but talking with your friends, having those conversations. And it's kind of like play fighting a little bit. How like lions will like fight, like the cubs will fight each other, even though it's like not real. And like you going back and forth with your boys and like you start fighting each other, not literally, but like arguments of like, no, dude, I think this is right. It's like, no, bro, like this is right. That builds the backbone. Like having those conversations with other men is like, that's something that builds our confrontation bone.
I think that people don't get hit in the mouth enough these days, and I'll explain why. I think that this online internet culture thing that we have right now has given men a false sense of security that they can say whatever they want to online to whoever without any repercussions. Because back in the day, if we didn't have any of this, you wouldn't have told me that in the bowling alley. You wouldn't have told me this in the shopping mart or anything like this. But now we're being conditioned to say, you're this and that through some A9 account, through a PFP and all this other shit. And it's like, you can say whatever you want. Now you're getting more comfortable doing this. But it's like all this bravery is just pseudo bravery. It's all fake. It doesn't exist. So now we're living a fake life. life. That isn't the man that you really are, but you're going to portray this person when really, if I meet you out in the park and I know you're the person that's talked all this shit and you said something about all this other crazy shit about what you're going to do to my kids or whatever else, it could be some personal shit. Now, when I see you, you're quiet. Like you're all, because you're not about that life. Keyboards and computers have given guys this complacent comfort that they have behind computers where it's like, oh no, I don't really mean I was going to fight. I meant online. Well, hold on. Back in my day, you got punched in the mouth and you had some dental work done because of that shit. Like, but that's the other thing too, is like, we're fake tough. We're fake tough nowadays. Everybody's fake is tough online. And this is another thing that happens. So back to consumerism, like I have to try to find out how to tie this back to consumerism.
Oh, yeah.
Like back to consumerism, people write checks that their mouth can't cash. This is something that happens often. Like we spend so much on this persona that we have online, but then people do the same thing out there in real life. They'll spend, like the guy that goes to the club, he'll spend like a $45 bottle of Dom Perignon or whatever in the club or whatever bar, whatever on this woman. Meanwhile, you barely got $5 to drive home on gas. Why are you fronting for this woman? That's like a tale as old as time that guys have always been doing this, like leading with a front, like he's got like something going on. He really doesn't. Like, just be honest, bro. You'd be surprised what you can get with honesty. Hey, you know what? I don't got much. Telling you right now, but I'm working hard. I'm gonna get there someday. Some women might respect you for actually being honest and saying that. If you lie and you say, you know what? Yeah, girl, I got it like that. And then she finds out you barely got home with the little bit of gas that you had. Now you look like a coward because you weren't brave enough to be courageous enough with honesty and truth. Because if you had to lie to her, what are you? Oh, that says that you're afraid of her. Right? Because you're afraid of what she might do with the truth. Yeah, you look like a total coward and that's going to turn women off big time. Lies do that all the time. But I think that you'd be surprised how much you can get with honesty and then spending within your means. Like you'd be shocked. Like, honestly.
Yeah. We're too comfortable with like, not like, how do you say it? We're too comfortable with like showboating and peacocking with like, oh, I got this money. I got this money I can spend. That's why people usually go out and they buy like the Louis Vuitton, you know, and I've seen these people do it. They buy the Louis Vuitton where it's all over the shirt, it's all over the bag, it's all over the coat. And it's like, no, you look broke because of that. And because, you know, like people who actually know about finances and actually take care and have financial literacy, they're not going to go and like showboat like to people that they don't even know. It doesn't matter because, and honestly, I think it should be harder for people to get credit cards in the first place. This is why we're in debt. This is why America has like $1.4 trillion in credit card debt, is because people are too comfortable with I'm having the slightest bit of financial issues, credit card. I'm hungry and I have food in the refrigerator, credit card. You know, it's always so easy to reach for the card because the bank is giving you to, oh, okay, give this line. Here you go. You can spend on whatever you want. You know, interest only comes once a month. And that's the issue. I think it should be much harder for people to get credit cards because if you didn't have it, I know this argument is played out a bit, but it's like if you didn't have it, then you wouldn't use it. And it's like, how would you would have a better you would have a, how you say, be more creative in your thinking of, okay, how can I get over this issue if I didn't have a credit card? And like that's the whole point, because I remember it is extremely easy to get a large line of credit. When I did not have a 9-to-5, right? I didn't have a job at this time. I did have my own business. I was making about $300 to $1,000. And I had I got to a $30,000 credit line without having a 9-to-5. And I was using that to fund my, I was using that to fund my businesses. And I was saving it. I was carrying around maybe $1,000 up to $2,000 in debt that I was using for, I would float it. So I would move it to a 0% APR credit card the next time if I couldn't pay it all off in that time. But I was using all of that in a creative way. I wasn't going above a certain budget that I had. And I knew how much debt I can carry. And long story short, it was stolen from me by my family with bad financial literacy. Like they were very, very poor with finances. And it started with like, oh, can we borrow some? And this is where I was stupid for trusting them, to the point where I did trust them with that amount of money. And they took all of it. And I was like, oh, like, okay, are you going to pay this back? And the thing is, they showed me proof that they were going to pay it back because they were getting, they had, not a pay stub, but it was like a email from the lawyer of how much, because they were supposed to get a settlement and two settlements, I believe. One was from an insurance claim and one was an entire settlement when it came to they were supposed to get like $120,000, right? They had gotten 50. They had borrowed money from me and they paid it back. And then they said, "Oh, can we borrow some more since we paid you back?" And I was like, "Okay, I would like some type of upfront insurance for that to make sure like it's okay." They gave me about $3,000 and they started putting money on my card. And I was like, "Okay, like you're going too much." They're like, "Okay, well, here's a second document to show we have another $70,000 coming in. And it's going to be by this time." And I was like, okay, but I want like this needs to be paid. This is
that's bad.
But this is exactly. But this is my family that I trusted, right? This is the family that raised me since I was a kid. So I was like, you know what? They wouldn't do that to me. I will go ahead and like allow it. I learned the hard way, dude. I learned the entire hard way because at the end they were like, "Fuck you." I was
I have a story that I'll break out right now. This is crazy. This happened like last week, I think. So people in the chat, you're going to be like, I'm not shocked by Black culture. We all know, and on my podcast, I talk about Black culture all the time and how degenerate it is. So when we talk about people flaunting money and cash, this is probably the most hood ghetto shit I've seen in a very long time. Let me go ahead and blow this up a little bit right here. So this kid called Dion Wiley, 17, who went viral for flexing his stacks of cash on prom night, was shot and killed in a parking lot. Like, this is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. Like, he was flexing this cash on prom night. Lo and behold, what happened? Right? RIP to this young man. Haha, funniest shit ever. Bro had hair shaped like horns. Like, they're roasting him in the chat, but it's like, yeah, this is what happens, man. Like, if you're trying to chase an image online and you're trying to be about that cash, like, this is the whole example I gave you. Like, why are we going to drive to the bad side of town in a supercar, get blackout drunk while I'm wearing a Rolex? It'd be the stupidest thing ever. This kid, same thing. It cost him his life, man. And that's what happened. I think it was like last weekend, bro. Crazy.
Here's the thing. And I've seen this with like specific, like, content online with specific lower income families. They will demonize and attack their kids for holding money, and this is for like a specific like a demographic of people where I've seen it's like the mothers will be like, what so you've been having this money under your bed this whole time? And he's like, "Well, ma, you know, I've been I'm trying to save up for college or something, you know, I've been working." And she's like, "No, I need to get my hair done, or I need to get my nails done." And it's like, man, it's sad. Yeah, and it's like I do believe the first threat to your personal finances is your family. And I'm saying, well, because of the experience that I faced with it. But I believe that if you can tell that your family has had, like, they make poor financial decisions, don't think they wouldn't do it to me. Never think that. They will do it to you 100% the second that they get the chance to do it. Two, it's like you can tell by the way that they behave when it comes to as soon as they get any money, it's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spend it. I'm gonna buy that Louis Vuitton bag. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try to put down a down payment on an expensive car that I can't afford. You know, I'm gonna go eat out all the time. That's the problem we're having. Oh wait,
hold on real quick. Let me take that off real quick. My bad.
No, that's cool.
I tried to change my screen to something else real quick. Yeah, I agree, man. That's the issue that we're having, especially when it comes to finances and all that. I think that somehow I wanted to change my background to something more dystopian, but that's the thing, though. Is like, if you think about it, society is in chaos right now. Like, but I think that we're creating these monsters that don't exist because we don't have impulse control. Not only do we not have impulse control, but we don't know how to discipline ourselves and like resist our own urges and cravings. If we don't do this, we're going to end up losing time and money we'll never get back. And to me, I think the greatest loss of all is just time, man. Like, and I'll sum this up real quick in a heartbeat and say that, look, if we could somehow find a way to propagandize the nation to have dinners at home with family, and then change the culture where we can have a man stay home instead of divorce, the first sign of a storm that comes and a hardship, and try to actually make it work instead of saying, I got options. There's all these men in my DMs. I'll just divorce him because there's somebody out there that'll pick up the slack. Like, no, I think that women, like, feminism has done a number out here. I think that if we can reverse this back slowly with some propagandization and then somehow get back to the time when a hot plate was magic to a hardworking man that came home, fixes everything. And he matter of fact, if we can do away with internet for let's say at a certain time, internet gets shut off. We'll say 7:30 or 8 o'clock PM, all internet gets shut off except for emergency services or whatever. And we went back to the family sitting around a movie at night at home after eating a home cooked meal and everybody commiserating, after a long week, whatever this is, and families getting back together. I think Putin tried to do this. I think he turned the electricity off or something like that at 9 PM. Maybe this was a rumor or something like that he rolled out, but it was to get their population going again, people having sex to procreate. I think that's what, I don't know if it's true or not. I should actually Google this, but that's a good idea. But you see what the lengths that they're willing to do to integrate this. And I guarantee you, if you're shutting off the internet or electricity, whatever it is, at 9 PM for Putin, you guys are saving a shit ton of money because who's going out if everything's shut off? What are you doing? Oh, we're incentivizing people to uphold the traditions, upholding culture, not eroding family values, and reconnecting again. I think we need to go do something extreme like that. But I don't know.
I got you. I would always be careful when it comes to anything even praising Russia and China for these extreme, not so much extreme, but these hard right takes where it's we shut off the internet so people have sex and have they go have more babies. In reality, it's to reduce the usage overall because their economy is failing. I'm 100% against China and I'm against Russia. China, for example, they said that they were they were banning what is it? They were banning media that was deemed too far left, specifically homosexual content. And I get it if they don't specifically if that, I don't know, but they go by one step at a time to ban anything that they deem unfit for people. Whether you agree with the content or not, or you support that or not, China is very strict with the content that they share out to those people. This is why I always disagree with what they do.
If we ban pornography, because China, what they're doing is very subversive. They'll say the TikTok that you guys have is with titties, ass, people doing stupid dances and all this. They're dumbing down our culture. Meanwhile, the TikTok that they have is astrophysicists discovering a new component out there. We have kids achieving new things, maybe a grade point average that's normative at 4.0, but she made a new discovery, or some gymnastics person just made the team. That's what their TikTok is. Way different from what we have. Granted, you can say that, I don't like this communist government and all this. I agree with you, but I would say that a broken clock can be right twice, maybe turning the internet off except for emergency purposes at 9 PM would be a good start. Not saying I like the whole totality of Russia or China or any of this stuff, but I think that if you limit and actually shut down pornography and say, no, we're not doing this. If we find out you did this, you'll get fined or whatever it is, it fines and all, that can seem extreme, but it's our nation is becoming so degenerate as a whole that it's we're literally emasculating men through creating more simps, through creating more incels, giving women too much free reign, meaning creating these double standards that end up screwing ourselves, opting out of nuclear families, eroding traditions and cultures, and then turning these women into the very strong men that they want us to be. Now this inversion's happened. What do? People say we can't put the genie back in the bottle, but we can. There's extremist things that Russia's willing to do. Why not just say, hey, no pornography. We're going to have a decent indecency laws again and just ban it outright. Now, people will say, well, bans don't work. Well, go to Singapore and try to chew gum and spit out on the sidewalk and see how that works. Why their streets are clean? Because bans do work. When we think about this, that may be one stark example. I can point out 2 others for you. So it's when people say, nah, that'll never happen. Well, people thought that feminism would never take hold and then men would be using women's bathrooms or playing in women's sports. There's a lot of shit people say hasn't happened. But I think one step at a time, we can do things if we want things to happen. UK Matter of fact, has an immigration program problem. They now barely started putting their foot down. Now they're protesting this immigration and their browning of their country.
Yeah.
That may seem extreme, but we don't want to have to wait till shit gets so bad before we're like, we should have did something. That's what I'm saying.
I think there's 3 points, right? And to try to tie each of them together. For instance, when it comes to the TikTok, right? I think the difference is we do have that on TikTok, in American TikTok, but it's scrolled all the way to the left where it's the stem section. I think the stem section should have been moved to the first page, but of course that doesn't gain clicks. That doesn't gain.
They're not going to do that.
They wouldn't do that.
That's why I don't think we have the same TikTok they do. But like, think about China's. I guarantee you that you don't have to scroll to the stem section. You don't have to do it. It's right there. And I guarantee if you try to find the American version of it, might not even exist on their TikTok. That's what I'm saying when I say we have two different TikToks.
Another thing too is like when I say about like the government like doing that extreme take of like shutting off the internet, I don't think it should be in the hands of the government. We should have the willpower to do it ourselves. How? And this is the thing, right? You don't believe that. You don't believe that we should have.
We don't have the like. I'll tell you the reason why we don't have the willpower to do it ourselves. Like we just went through a whole hour of talking about how we could put the genie back in the bottle of women being propagandized to spend. And then our only solution that you and I both came up with is just avoid those women. Well, that doesn't fix the proper change at all. Women will actually plead to Big Daddy government before they plead to the man at home and I'll give you a good example. I grew up in a home with Section 8 food stamps and a food box and all this other shit. My mom wouldn't let my dad go back home because as soon as my dad came back home with a paycheck, Uncle Sam cut him off. Uncle Sam would cut her off these paychecks and food. Well, it's like, she's choosing one daddy over the other. Women do this all the time. If I can get it the easy way and I don't have to work for it, why? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right, girl? They'll do this and snap their fingers and do all this. And it's like, bro, but we don't want to have to work for anything anymore. We become lazy and complacent as a nation. We've seen what women can do if you give them whatever they want. Now we're in a mouse utopia where women now will cannibalize each other, tear each other to bits, and call themselves friends to their faces. This is the very same populace that you want to appeal to and let lead your household. This is nuts. So I think,
I do believe that there is a solution though when it comes to like voting, like there's like vote with your wallet or like take a vote, right? I think men need to insanely increase their standards. We don't want women that are very provocative. We don't want women that are highly combative. We don't want women that are going to like waste our money. And men, like this is the problem with simps. And I think men that know this need to put their foot down with simps. With like, oh my god, like you see your bro subscribing to an OnlyFans. Like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing it? Why are you giving money to like Sophie Rain, for example? And like that's my issue. When it comes to like that's how we can take those matters into our own hand instead of like letting the government take control of that.
But hold on, though. I'm going to push back a little bit. I think the government should have their hands in doing things like banning pornography. Here's why.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about the government, but what is the government made up of?
Like what Congress?
People.
Of course, yeah.
People that live down the block from you they could be your neighbor that's in city council. They could be these are people. So when we talk about government, you're talking about other people. So I think that if those people also have the same belief systems, matter of fact, the reason why I don't think government is a bad thing to appeal to when it comes to controlling these things is because they're supposed to be our servants. They're in those jobs to serve us. Now, granted, I know that it's probably opposite these days in how it functions, but originally, and this is how it's supposed to be, they're supposed to serve us. So if they're in their rightful place in serving us and we want them to say, hey, the men are sick and tired of this. The only reason why I voted for you is because you'd say you shut this down. I think that putting in the hands of the government isn't that bad when it comes to this because the government is made up of people. Men just like you and me. Granted, some may be bought out by super PACs and shit like that, but I'm talking about just your state. You know, the people who are in your state office, city council, and all this, if you appeal to them and say, you know what, I don't like pornography. All of us are having a 1,000,000-man march. We don't like this. We're not voting for you again next year. We can do this. All you have to do is say, I'm not voting for you unless you ban this. But will people do this? It remains to be seen. I don't know.
What about lobbyists, for example? Like people who are going to be bought out by these big corporations that push for like have a let's say a corporation in America that's going to push for like degenerate content, and they say, okay, I'm going to lobby behind, let's say, the Democratic Party, or I'm going to lobby behind like the Republican Party, and they start pushing towards that. Like that, this is the issue I have with it, giving government like total control over something that we do. I think that instead, like content creators like you and I think most people who get together and start pushing for a stricter take on taking back like our content, taking back our data, taking back our screen time, I think that's what we should advocate for. It's like all of us coming together, and then not, I don't want to say just outright bashing, but if that's what it is, if that's what we call it, like to shame like the men that are like, I'm gonna subscribe to OnlyFans. Yeah, I'm subscribed to, again, Sophie Rain, who is like the what she just made, I think 300 million, or I don't know the number offhand, but she made an insane amount of money last year.
Yeah, I think that it just depends, because I think that if you can have, matter of fact, I forgot what his name is. He's in Florida. He's saying, I'm going to super tax all these women who are OF models. I forgot his freaking name. But anyways, he's running for governor in Florida, and I think he might get office, but he's saying, I'm going to tax these OF models like 80% or something wild like that, and I'm going to put the money back into education and other things like that. These OF girls who are like the 2%, 1% are really pissed off about this, that they're going to have to be paying and being taxed that much, because he's like, it's degenerate shit. I don't want any of this. And he's so against it. I forgot his name, but anyways, if I think about it, I'll tell you. But yeah, very interesting that this guy is running. But I think that more people are starting to come around to this, and the pendulum of feminism has swung so far left that now we're slowly starting to see it inch back a little bit. And even a lot of women are starting to become more fed up because of feminism in the dating market, which, by the way, I have a debate tomorrow on this thing called Word War Debate.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the first debaters. I'm going to be debating a guy named Anton Miles. And guess what the debate prompt is? Feminism is helping modern dating. I'm just like, bro, this is going to be a bloodbath. Like, I'm just like, okay. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but W. Here we go.
Oh, I think James Fishback, right? He proposed the syntax.
Fishback. Yes. Fishback. That's who he is. Yep. James Fishback.
Yeah. But no, like I think that I do believe, like, in a lot of these things, like, for instance, and this may be a very hot take, and you'll probably disagree with me when you first hear it, but Destiny had a good point, and this was, like, conservatives should not complain about Hollywood. Instead, they should be more involved, get into Hollywood, make more content revolving around their lifestyle. Because the thing is, the reason why the left is so strong is because they're so vocal. The reason why they had such a big push to the what is it called, the pendulum, is because they were so vocal about what they wanted. They were everywhere online, and we know the more, like, you are just blasted online, the more people will start to bend and mold around those takes. So I do think that more people with conservative takes, more people with, like, financial literacy, more people with, like, okay, no, this is what we need to do, and take back our, like be more what's the word, like, stronger in our household, put our foot down with boundaries. They need to start being more vocal on content.
Yeah, appealing to the patriarchy a little bit more, leaning into that position and that role, that hierarchical status of being. I think that that's extremely important. I think we run from our duties, right? We abdicate responsibility all the time. And I think we shouldn't do this anymore. Just because it's more convenient doesn't mean it's better for the future. And I think it develops into a more complacent household, a more complacent neighborhood, and a more docile culture that you don't want. I think that moving towards this ends up being in the Wall-E movie, where everybody's fat, out of shape, and we just start going the easy route, and it just prevents tough men. You know, it does. Weaker men, and then we have tough times, and then we have to deal with this shit. Now, all of a sudden, we have to realize that we need good men. We need good men in society that are going to put their foot down and actually have some form of discipline. You know what? I don't know about you, but I practice, like, financial discipline daily when it comes to certain things. Like, I think about things all the time. Like, I don't want to buy that. I can wait. Can that wait? Yeah, I can wait. But that internal monologue that you have, we should learn as men to have this monologue with women. You know what I'm saying? So back to the government thing, like, you govern your own home. There's a government that happens at home. Like, who's the head of state? Who's the Godhead here if you're religious? Like, we have to think about this. Like, you're the Christ head of the home. What you say goes. What feminism is doing is it's inverting all that. right? We're abdicating responsibility, duty, and all this. Women are doing this. Meanwhile, men are expected to hold to their traditional values, their traditional structures, and all this. Women are abdicating all this, and it creates this lopsided relationship that we have in society. And when that happens, now they're the ultra consumerist. They're walking slot machines, like I said. And now modern dating has turned into a gamble, and it's rough out there in them streets.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. I think when it comes to finances, a lot of people are struggling and that's the thing though. I think that if people point out, I don't have a problem with saying that we should 100% like advocate for change in being innovative and looking for ways to save money and making more money. The problem I have is when the people that either are comfortable, because I've seen those comments like, oh, I don't have to worry about groceries, but the people that do need to worry about, and you shouldn't say this thing, that like the problem is we have to be ultra soft and like super sensitive to certain things. Like people are bringing up food deserts, for example. Yeah, it is. Food deserts affect anywhere between like 11 to 17% of the US population. Is it a substantial amount? Yes, but it's a minority. It's still like a small portion of the US population. I have no experience in a food desert. I shouldn't talk on it. Somebody from a food desert should talk on it and say this is how you can get around these issues, because it's roughly like 6% of the people who go through like severe what's the word, like lack of access to food. It's like 6%. 6%, it's a big deal, but it's small compared to like the 94% of people that I can give advice to, or you can give advice to. People in these small groups, they need someone from that niche, from that small group, to tell them, hey, I found a solution here, because they're special to that niche. I have no access, so why are you getting down my throat? Because I have no experience in there.
It is a niche, and it's a very small subset, to be honest with you. And it's I'd hate to say this, but I'll say this overwhelmingly. I don't think we have like a food desert problem here mainly. I think a lot of this could be solved. And how you know we don't have a food desert problem here? I'll tell you how. I know restaurants, and I know people that work for restaurants all the time. At the end of their shift, they're dumping out a lot of food that otherwise would have been fed to homeless, and it's still good. They're throwing it out because it was on the rack for 5 minutes too long, or some other bullshit excuse like this, and they're wasting it. I'm like, that food is still good. One of my first jobs I worked at was Jack in the Box. We wasted so much food that was already cooked, could have been given out, could have been given to the employees to take home. Nope, trash, because we can't do that because of some mandate that we have. I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. There's no such like, so when people say there's a food desert, no, I think we have a waste problem that's happening in America right now. And we not only do we overspend, but we overconsume. We live beyond our means. We waste so much without any forethought of like what could be used, what could be given away to anybody else. And it's like, is that unreasonable to say that you can't give this burger that sat on the warmer for like 5 minutes too long away to a homeless guy that's out there? You gotta throw it in the trash anyways. It's still 5 minutes. Like, think about how often this happens. We dump trash, buffets, dump food in trash all the time. That is so like, bro, that's like families out there, like starving kids, all this, like you could be feeding and that's always boggled my mind. So like I said, we have it's not what's crazy though, too. Here's another problem too. Men in relationships. Damn, do I want to go down that trail? No, let me not. So I'll say this right now. Like, I think that we do have an overwhelming problem here, but I don't think hunger is like I don't even saying it's a niche is like kind of a stretch to me. As much of a waste as we do of food in this country, I think it's crazy to even say to some degree. Maybe I'm off base, but I firmly believe we don't have a desert problem like we do think we do have.
There, of course, there are like areas, I guess, like people who live in like swamps or people who live in like completely deserted areas. Like,
you're choosing to live in a swamp, though.
But exactly, but
you don't have to live in the swamp. You can move somewhere else, like so where it's not a desert area. Like that's a choice too. Like that's what I'm saying.
No, exactly. I think when it comes to, let me see, I'm actually trying to find how many, because I read one time it was like 30 tons, I think, of food. How much food do we waste? What was it annually?
So much. It's ridiculous how much food we waste as a nation. Like my first job, like I said, it was Jack in a Box, and I was in high school. We wasted so much food. It was fucking ridiculous. Like, and I'm just like, this is crazy. Meanwhile, there was like a black woman. She sued Burger King for like, I think it was like 45, or the judge awarded her $45,000 because like she had worked a long shift and she took a burger and like a small fry. Like they fired her for that. And I was like, bro, you would have thrown that out at the end of the night. Like that was like the fries and burger she took. The judge was like, well, you got fired for just taking that. All right, $45,000. She got awarded. And that was it. And I'm just like, yeah, that lets you know we have a waste problem here. It's crazy.
I just pulled it up. So we waste over 1 billion tons of food annually. And this is the thing. Can you guess where the majority of that waste comes from?
I would say a lot of it's in our own home.
Yeah, 60% is household waste globally.
Damn, how did I get that?
I believe it's
a lot, bro. Yeah.
No, you're exactly. It's like it's a cycle. It's like bad consumer behavior enables bad corporate behavior, and this is the issue I have. I am okay. People like to say I'm a bootlicker because I believe like it's innovative, or it's like it's a big deal that Elon Musk is going to hit $1 trillion. I think it opens up the possibility of look what's possible. Look, somebody in the first time in history has actually hit $1 trillion. And it's like, yeah, I think not that everyone can hit $1 trillion, but it shows how much money we can make if we think strategically. Yeah, I'm not saying that we're going to get to that area, right? I'm not going to hit that top 1%.
It's crazy.
So, dude, it's wild of how much how much money is possible to be made. But when I say like people enable like a bad behavior, it's because one, the reason why it's like past, because I've known people that have worked in like Walmart delis, they've worked in like fast food, and they have to throw it out because if they don't and then just give it to someone, if it's over temperature and somebody gets a stomach ache, it's like, oh, I can sue because they gave me bad food because it comes from them.
I know there's a line, but there's also a line of like I think we should create something where it's like, let's say that somebody signs a waiver and they're like, well, it's only been out for 10 minutes. If you want it, you could sign a waiver, because I guarantee you. So this is what happens, right? And I'll tell you a very, very crazy story. I was a kid and I was homeless. So, and the reason why I ran away is because I had a stepdad that got drunk and liked to touch kids. And I was like, you're not fucking touching me. So I ran away, right? He got drunk one night and went into the room and thought he could touch people and shit like that. And I just I ran, right? Ran away, didn't come back home. But anyways, living on the street, I learned that behind Pizza Hut, I think it was like Pizza Hut at the time, like people threw away like half-eaten pizzas that were untouched. And I was like, it's crazy for me to tell you I was eating out of pizza boxes when I was a kid. I think our first interview, when you interviewed me, I was telling you a story when I was homeless. But yeah. I learned like how wasteful people are when I was homeless as a kid. Like eating these pizzas, like I was like so grateful that people threw away pizza, and the owner caught me eating like a box of pizza out the trash, and he was like, "Where are your parents, kid?" And I was like, like I didn't know what to tell him, because I was like, he was like, "So you're just gonna eat pizza out of the trash can?" He was like, "Why don't you just come in? I'll give you a personal pan pizza." And I was like, I didn't trust anybody at the time because I was living in the streets for a minute. And he was like, no, I'm not going to hurt you. You're fine. He was like, you look like you smell. When's the last time you had a shower? And I went in and he like told me this story about Steven Seagal and like how my name sounded. It's so weird. And I ate a pizza. I was like, so grateful. And he was like, anytime you want to eat a pizza out the back, because I know you're not going to let me drop you off at home. You don't look like you have a home. But he was like, anytime you want a pizza, just let me know, bro. You don't have to eat out of our dumpsters. Like that was one of the coolest guys I met when I was homeless as a kid. But I got caught up and got into the system when I was a kid. But anyways, that's the story. And I was like, and to me, it's like, yeah, I understand the story of you saying, well, the food was out there, right? And then somebody could sue you because they had a stomach ache. Well, here's the thing though, like a kid like me that was eating out of dumpsters as a kid, I'm going to eat out of the dumpster if I think the food is still good. You don't think the homeless person is going to do this when buffets empty and waste food all the time? They do this all the time. You know, there's so much waste these restaurants do, and I get it. They don't want to be sued. Well, the homeless person, if he still thinks the food's good, like I did, is still going to eat the trash. So it's like, whatever, bro. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no. I think that right there is like once it hits the trash, it's kind of like out of the restaurant's hands, for example, right? But the problem is like the people that are like that will do that, go to the lengths of suing the corporation or suing the company or the restaurant or whatever because the food is like 5 minutes past its expiration date. Like that takes the food out of the people that need it. Like if they need, like imagine if like nobody did that. Like you can just give away the free food at the end of the day. But then again, you have the people like that would wait at the end of the day to like take the free food and it would go out of business. So it's like you're dealing with this equilibrium of how can we like keep the company in business and then take all the free food.
Yeah, but see, this is why it's such a very tough subject to talk about because like, you can say, well, no, they'll go out of business. Well, you were going to throw that shit out anyways. You were going to throw all this food out anyways. So it's like, I get that. Maybe you're talking about from an optics lens. Like, I get that. But at the same time, you have like little old me being homeless at the time and I'm eating pizza out of the dumpster. And you have to come because you feel bad, and I have to get a pan pizza and your long Steven Seagal story at the table. It's like, bro, but that's the thing though, is like you learn a lot. Well, I grew up fast when I was on the streets, but at the same time, it's like you feel bad because you're like, we're overproducing all this food and we're wasting so much. Like, I get it, waste not, want not, but like, I was so upset when I worked for Jack in the Box as my first job. And I was like, we're throwing all that out. Like, that's my first thing because I didn't understand like the policy, the regulations with just giving away food because it's and they get a tummy ache, they'll sue you and all. I didn't understand any of that. I came from nothing. I was living in a group home at the time with other boys working for Jack in the Box, coming from poverty, thinking we're getting rid of all this food. For what? Like, that is a waste, and it pissed me off it upset me so much because I'm like, I could be eating all those burgers.
Yeah.
Like, that's like 19 burgers I promise you I'll eat them too, and I'll swat but it's like, dude, I couldn't do this. Otherwise I get fired, and then I really can't eat anything. It's like, so I don't know. We need answers. Like, we need answers to this because I think we waste so much. And that, to me, that upsets me more than anything else. Us as a nation, the waste that we do at home, the waste that we do out there. And I can only imagine how much buffets throw out at the end of the night. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so much waste, man. It's crazy, bro.
No, it's an insane amount. I would like to, I wish there was a solution. Either that be third party or through the companies themselves, like investing in some type of if there was only a way, like, okay, because you definitely can't rely on like morality. Like, there's people that are definitely gonna take advantage of the system. But if there was a way that they could like give the free food to like a third party, and for the people that actually need it, they get it for free. They get all that food for free. That would be, I believe it's 12% is coming, like 12% of food waste comes from retail. So that 12% can go towards like actual like people. Like, another thing I don't like, and it comes to waste because people like to talk about green energy. Slightly tying this into AI, people are like complaining about data centers and complaining about the environment. A lot of these people don't do a damn thing for the environment. A lot of these people do not care how much they waste, but they will look at these billion-dollar corporations are building data centers near my city, my town. You don't compost, you don't grow your own food, you don't collect rainwater, you waste the food that you do buy, you don't volunteer time, all these things, but you want to complain about corporations building something that could add value and jobs to a city that doesn't have a lot of valuation. That's another problem I have with these people. Because
I think a lot of people live through social media, but they're not activists. They're not about that life. They don't get out there and put boots on the ground. They don't touch grass. They don't do any of this stuff. But it's easy to type things on a keyboard and feel your way. The whole feel, felt, found thing. And then that's it. And then what you do is detach and you forget about this. That's why I don't take a lot of people online seriously. Like, let's face it. That's why I don't take a lot of beef online seriously either. Because I can have a beef with somebody, right? And I'll tie this in real quick. I can have a beef with somebody, and then I'm going back to work and I'm forgetting about all this beef that I have with somebody and living my regular life. And after this, like, AI is doing the same thing, right? It's conditioning us to like look at serious matters and take them as not serious. One good example of this is like AI is doing this regularly. Like there's these alien videos that they're coming out with on Instagram and everything. And it's like, that looks so real. Now you're questioning everything. So that way, if something real gets presented to you, you're desensitized to the point where it's like, it's whatever. Like what? If somebody would have shown you that in 1960, you would have flipped your lid. But because now you don't know what's real and what isn't real, and you're being conditioned to like not react to anything because you don't know what's real, what's fake, is wild. There could be some conspiracy to like condition everybody to be like non-responsive to like something real that happens. So that could also probably be happening as well too. We live in crazy times, man.
I agree with you. Living in crazy times, we really do. Something that I've noticed though is like, for instance, Instagram and X does this very well, where anytime you post something, Grok will flag it as AI. TikTok will do this as well. If I post like I'll make like a background drop of from AI, and it says this content contains like AI generated content. The thing is, we've had like what is it called? Like propagandized content coming. Do you remember the famous Loch Ness monster photo from like 2020?
It's called the Sturgeon's photo.
Yeah, and the guy that took the photo, it was fake. He faked it. A lot of these like the fake photos and fake videos, has been around for forever. It's just mass produced now because of AI, and that's the issue I have with it, because it's like AI slop. It's like everybody knows about AI slop. I think what we need to do is like Facebook is terrible with this. I don't know if you've ever gone through Facebook and you see so many videos of AI slop. You have literally people in the comments saying, "Oh, it's AI, and I think that's good. That's one way. But I think too, every platform needs to put out, this is AI generated content. I think that's one way. But I wouldn't call that like a bad, like an overall like bad bad red flag to AI.
I wouldn't say overall. I wouldn't say overall. So, like, I'm not going to make an absolute claim and say overall it's bad. I would say that anytime you have anything good, you're going to smuggle things in there that are going to be bad. They're going to be some nefarious kind of things slid in there. Like, if I'm going to pass a bill to the House that's going to pass through Congress and all this, I might add what they call pork in there. Like, it's going to be good. It's going to help fight against feminism. But at the same time, it's also going to acknowledge that men should use tampons in their men's restroom. Like, but they're not going to tell you about that. They're going to slide in the bill. AI, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's cool. You know, I don't think it's all bad because there's going to be a lot of entertainment value with this. But at the same time, just realize that you're going to be confused as to what's real and what's not. And you're not going to know the difference sometimes unless the app tells you that it's outright fake. So it's like there's pros and cons to almost damn near everything. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. I think like, but this is the thing, like the issue I have with that, like when people make the argument about AI, it's like the internet did the same thing, and the internet did get pushback. Like back in the day, do I know this? No, but like out of like accounts, through people's experience, through grandparents, of course, they did not like the internet. The internet was pushing propaganda since day one. And that, like, now the thing with AI is just it can do it rapidly because it makes videos look so realistic. Like now they're literally using AI, and this is like 100% like false advertisement, because they will use AI to generate these like super realistic, like amazing videos of like people of their like product. And it's like some basic ass toy you get from Temu, and it's like, it's not gonna give me like that quality. Like dude, like no, cut the shit out. Like don't put like this as your actual product. That's what I dislike about it. Like there is proof, or there is like a negative that you can argue for, like AI data centers, for example. You can argue that they do have heat pollution and noise pollution. However, the noise pollution is around, I believe, 62 decibels. So that is like the same as like not, I wouldn't say low, but it's like a conversation. Like if you hear two people conversating from about 5, maybe 10 feet away, that's how loud it is. And I think over like a prolonged period of time, it can mess with your mental health. I think that's one thing that needs to be addressed. And two, not the water. I don't believe like the water thing is like an actual issue. Nobody's going, unless you're in Corpus Christi, where they're actually having a water shortage. I think majority of Americans are not dealing with food shortages or water shortages, but the heat, what is it called? The heat dissipation is an issue where we are seeing like degrees around data centers go up like 1 to 2 degrees.
Well, there's like an impending thing with the Colorado River and where the state I'm at, that the water issue thing is being swept under the rug. Like it looks like there's a looming water issue that's going to be happening. And we just had a new data center that's installed in the Western Valley, and people are like trying to protest it, and they're told not to. And it's just, I don't know. So we do have an issue with water that's impending that I do believe that people are trying to suppress because, and it's like, well, who do we share the Colorado River with? Well, other states. Well, they must be looking at this looming issue as well, too. And if they have data centers, well,
yeah.
May not be a one-off like you think so, but who knows? I don't know how bad it is, but I do know that there's like hints and suggestions of this happening.
Yeah. So the problem is if people weren't spreading like false information to make it look worse than what it is, I would 100% be on board with it. There was a video of a girl who went viral. I don't have the video on me, but she was saying there was in Connecticut, I believe it was in Bridgeport to Danbury, where there was I think it was around, I can't remember which city it was, but they had a broken water pipe where the water they had to literally shut off the water from people's homes. And I was at my girlfriend's house when it happened. And it went viral where they were like, oh, it's AI. The AI is sucking the water from the homes. Like, look, like they're building an AI data center here. The AI data center wasn't even built yet. And then two, it was because of the broken water line. And it's like, dude, like this, like that's the problem is people are spreading false information just to get their point across. And that's what I like strongly disagree with.
Well, but that's another thing too. I think that we live in an age where nihilism is like a stone's throw away, and it's convenient to be nihilistic. Well, a lot of people are saying because it's at the expense of false hope, right? I don't want to be hoping in the best for something when I know that easily, things can turn south in a heartbeat. Like, for instance, right now we're at war with Iran. Mm-hmm. There's the whole Israel problem. Paris is burning right now. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't.
The UK right now is on strike right now. People going to the streets because they're fed up with immigration. Mm-hmm. Russia is doing its own crazy thing, trying to instigate in the background. And it's like, now we have this problem with immigration eating ourselves alive. We have consumerism that we talked about and everything else. And it's like, bro, there's so many distractions in the world that people wouldn't be surprised if the worst thing happens, right? Yeah. But good things happening is hard to believe, to be honest. And I don't fault people for this, diving into nihilism to some degree. But however, I think that people need to be more patient. They need to be more patient with information. When you get a piece of information, do some critical thinking, look back into it, do some research, do like a Google reverse search, do things like that. We live in the tech savvy age where you can look everything up instead of flipping out, crashing out, and just assuming the worst, which is normative for people. Because if you assume the worst, you probably survived longer in the past around the Paleolithic era, things like this, or whatever you want to call this. It's like, but people say that's fake or whatever, who knows? But you probably survived having that mindset and just stating, there's not a T-Rex outside because I don't hear anything, gets gobbled up. But it's like, there's a reason why we defer to that, because it's like survival is still in us. Like, we're ingrained to still be cautious as a species. Therefore, also we'll be having this predictive model thinking, okay, well, if this bad thing happened by said government, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, they're assuming the worst, right? Well, how can you blame them? Because they're preparing themselves for whatever can happen. So this is just human nature.
Yeah, it's in our best interest to be nihilist. It keeps us alive longer. It's what kept us all alive for generations. Right?
But I don't think that it should be the totality of your lived experience, even for that moment. Like, we're gonna incur like blips, and moments and speed bumps where we're gonna be like, oh damn, I just got blackpilled for a second. But then we're like, we realize that that's what that was. That isn't life as a whole. We're going to move on because we have loved ones, people that depend on us and all this. It's like, but we have to understand that that's not the totality of like the day even or our life. But people get into this mantra where they lean into it too much. And now all of a sudden you have incel culture. You have MGTOW culture where it's like extreme, where this guy's like in mock mode where he's avoiding any female. Like even in society, he's just it's just getting weird. You know, there's an overcorrection of this everywhere. But hey, you know what? Since we're talking about mock mode, I think we need to go to mock mode when it comes to like consumerism and materialism. We need to go back to like, this is a simple life. Why am I burdening myself with all this status that I have to impress people with and all this extra stuff? But that's a society we live in right now. We're bought onto this lie that we have to be ultra consumerist, ultra materialist. And to me, I think that this is complete BS. Like corporations have, I don't want to say too much reign, but it's getting ridiculous, man. They're selling you a lie saying, here you go. I'm going to give you convenience, but also I'm going to erode your traditions and culture in your traditional family from sitting with a home cooked meal because Jack in the Box is like 2 minutes. And it's like, oh, we're just trying to take the burden. Now everything's outsourced. Your family culture, tradition, everything else because of consumerism is outsourced. What do we have left? Like what traditions and homes do we have left? Because everything's being outsourced now.
Yeah. No, that's that's a big point to that. Oh my God, I forgot the exact point I was gonna make to in the beginning, but I think that's where it goes to like bad consumer behavior enables bad corporate behavior, because we like during the pandemic, for example, where people had gotten their stimulus checks, some people were getting up to $1,700. They didn't. If you invested that, it went to the corporations. You were investing in what? Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, these companies, right? But even that was better than what most people did. Most people took that $1,700 and they went in and they bought shoes, food, went out to eat. They blew it on what? The corporations. People, I believe Amazon had an all-time like uptick in purchases during the pandemic because people were buying a bunch of stuff on Amazon. So like that's the issue. It's like you have like bad consumer behavior enabling bad corporate behavior. And that's an issue that leads into people just outsourcing everything. And it's something that we can take hold of. And honestly, it's like I think people in like the field of like embracing a minimalist lifestyle need to start spreading their own propaganda. Propaganda is not always bad as long as it's used for like pushing a specific agenda. And that may sound like a bit sus, right? But think about it. When people found out cigarettes were bad for you, they spread propaganda of what? Like, okay, it causes this issue. Anything like that, it's like, it's propaganda. Like, it does this, it does that to persuade an audience to take a specific action. So I think people that with a bigger influence need to start spreading, you need to live a minimalist lifestyle. And you'll see this with like guys, like what's the biggest joke about men living alone? You go in the room and they have like a lawn furniture and a TV and a video game set in their living room. You go to their room, they got a bed and maybe they're like fan in front of them. They live a very minimalist lifestyle. And I think that's the thing. You can have, your tech, you can have like your, I don't know, clothes or whatever you like, but people overconsume and they buy way too much. And that's the problem we're dealing with. And we need to pull back on that. Yeah. And I think that enables better corporate behavior because they're like, okay, we're not going to push out an iPhone every year. We're not going to push out like new car. New cars every year or whatever, but like, don't buy those new cars. Like you vote with your money, you vote with your wallet.
Yeah, you do. Because you could very well be the thing that's keeping things on life support that are your own to your own detriment. And what I mean by your own detriment is like the whole reference I gave was like people are like in a lot of parts of the nation, $400 away from poverty. Like they get a blown tire and it's like, damn, I'm screwed. I don't even know how to get to work because I can't afford a new tire. Like it's like all this. And it's like, I get it. But on the flip side, it's like, did you really need to make that purchase online with Amazon? Did you really need to eat fast food the whole week when you could have cooked? You were just too lazy. And it's like, you could have had enough to replace the tire, but you didn't. These are all choices that you're making. Like a lot of this is your own fault because you don't track anything. You buy everything through debit. So therefore you don't see the money leaving your hand and we're making horrendous decisions. And the girlfriend that you got, she's a big consumerist and she's a huge materialist. And it's like, in order for you to keep her, you have to make sure that she doesn't get bored. And what do you do to make sure she doesn't get bored? Maybe buy more shit that she likes to keep her around. And it's like, we have to really watch our decisions as men. Like you are at the helm of every decision you make. And that includes the saying no. and not having a fear of loss, thinking that she's going to leave you if you don't buy the purse or whatever this is. You have to put your foot down. If not, your threshold is like no the first time. And if she knows that that's your threshold, she knows where the line is, how the fence is built, what your standard is, and that there's no boundary anymore on month 9 when you're like, hey, babe, I was wondering if I can hang out with the boys. And you're asking her for permission. That's how you get there. And it's like a streamline. It's like I just gave you from A to B how we get there and how you're asking your wife permission to hang out with the boys. And it's like, hold on. What hierarchy is in this home if she's leading you now and you have to appeal to her? Like, what's ideal is to say, hey, honey, I'm hanging out with the boys on Thursday. I told you I was going to hang out. Do you need anything when I'm gone? Because I'm still showing some kind of concern and that I'm still involved. No, that's fine. I know Thursday's your night with the boys and this and that, whatever. And it's like you got that good relationship. That's cool because I think camaraderie is good. I think brotherhood is good. I think fellowship is good. And if you don't have allies around you and good men around you, like you said, your family can rob you. But it's like our family isn't just blood. Our family could be our brotherhood around us. And that brotherhood could save us a shit ton of money. Because like I said before, when we hang around men, we're not going to spend as much as if we hang around a bunch of women who are BFFs. Because once they get bored, they're probably going to say, well, are you sure we can't buy this? I know you're not your girlfriend, but damn, I'd really like to get that bear at the fair. It's like, this is what you do with your girl. So what we're doing is we're outsourcing these wife things to people that aren't even our wives. That's your female friend. That's why I myself would not have female friends. That's like, we outsource too much as men. We abdicate responsibility. We abdicate like duty. We do all this all for pleasing other people for an image and spending money into consumerism material. Anyways. Yeah.
I actually got a story for that too. So this is like a continuation of what I had said. Like after my family had actually stolen that 30,000 from me, and it was not just the 30K in credit lines, right? It was like 15K in investment. It was why, and it's my fault for being dumb. But I believe it's the family you choose, not the family you're born with. And I stuck by that because during this time when I was on X and I was building a community called the Brotherhood, I made an amazing friends. Those friends helped me get back on my feet. I stayed with one of my friends in Jersey for about a month, and we only talked online. And he's like, "Bro, come down. Well, you can stay with me." I stayed with him, and I will always appreciate that. I stayed with another friend. She was in Houston. She helped me there. She took care of me there, and I will always be thankful for the friends that helped me get back. I call those people my family. Not the family. When I say family, I use it as a label because I believe family will use that label to get access to your assets or like what you have, and they will take it and they believe they deserve it. It's this feeling of entitlement because they have like a family label on them. And no, I believe like especially men need to understand when that title needs to be broken. Like you could take away that title. Like just because we're biologically family doesn't mean like I have to be like I mean there's no other way to put it, but like be family, like I'm indebted to you just because we're related. So I think genuinely we need to men need to start looking for that brotherhood. Men need to start building those connections with genuine friends. And I think we also, on the other hand, and I know this may sound harsh, but like be ruthless with cutting people off who do not push us to be better. Those people, those dudes are like, oh, bro, come on, let's go to the bar, let's go to the club, let's go rack up bodies, let's go and do degenerate activities. You need to cut those people off. I think that's the only way another way we can get up in our success, like increase our success odds. And the last thing to that too was, oh my god, I can't remember. It's you can take it. I'm drawing a blank on that specific point, but I'll try to remember it.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, consumerism has monopolized a lot in our nation. And it's just insane, man. I think that we should tone this down a little bit. I think men should go back to duties and our responsibilities. Oh, hey, what's up, Cool Vic? Raid. Appreciate everybody from the Coolverse getting on over here. We are talking about feminism, consumerism, and materialism in America, and us pointing to blame at Trump, which I think is crazy. I think that we blame Trump for things that really, our actions lead to our own detriment all the time. Just crazy. So,
yeah, no, 100%. I think it's a lot of people like to. It's weird because I don't disagree with the fact that we've become like what's the word? They say we have a very individualistic take in society. I'm not against that. I'm against that. Not only do we have like you can't be both. You can't be the hero of your story and the victim at the same time. And a lot of people like to portray themselves as a victim, but yet feel entitled to all of these changes like the world revolves around you. And that's where I would disagree with them a lot of times. And mainly when it comes to finance, it's like we need to change, like the economy needs to change now because I say so. And like the economy needs to, and I need to get beef for like $2. What about the farmers? What about the people that what about the people that need it? What about gas price? And you have all of these costs adding up, and it's not just the beef. You think the cow in itself, I think a cow's like maybe $2,000 for maybe $5. I don't know exactly the amount of cows, but you think like after chopping it up and turning it into like specific food products that you're supposed to get it for like $2? Like how is it supposed to get to you? Who's turning it into ground beef in the first place?
Well, we have this stupid culture out here. We have people that are saying, well, we should have free food. There's literally a lot of liberals saying that we should have free food out here and that, we should never have anybody starve, which I guarantee you, I don't think we have this starve culture in America. I think we've eradicated that a long time ago. Yeah. Mind you, like Jack in the Box is dumping tons of food in the dumpster and buffets. Like I said, we are a wasteful country. And of most of the waste, as you described, 60% is from household waste, from food and things like this. But here's the thing, though. A lot of liberals will say that, we should have free food given out no matter what. Well, you're turning farmers into slaves now. You're turning people that have to slaughter cows and do all this to provide a service for free. Now you've just turned all these other people that produce food on the market into slaves. That'll never work. I don't understand how liberals want to get free shit from the system the whole time, but it's like you can't get free from somebody else's services, somebody else's labor, somebody else's resources. To me, this doesn't make any sense. This is how you end up with like culture that's entitled from women, from feminists, from liberals, all these other people that think that they should be entitled and get free handouts. Meanwhile, they say all this, but they don't understand how it turns people into slaves. Now you're asking for modern slavery. It's the same thing as these women that want to vote for illegal immigrants to come in the home, because I guarantee you, men aren't voting for this. And they're also damn sure not voting for men to use the female restrooms. They would say, feminists will say this. They'll say, I can't believe I don't feel comfortable walking down the street at night. I should be able to walk down the street at night, safe and not get mugged. But meanwhile, vote for open borders so that way immigrants can come, all these felons that get across the border. But they're making those votes, so it's like they're creating the very same problem that they complain about, and they're creating slaves and doing all this. This is just crazy. So this is an argument to like kind of repeal the 19th, but actually there's more layers to this conversations. There's a lot of this. But first of all, I think in modern culture with feminism, we bought the lie of consumerism, materialism, spending, all this other shit. Diamonds, when they came out with diamonds, these diamonds were worth shit. They weren't. But they marketed De Beers and all this other stuff to say, this is really what it is, inflating the cost. And now through commercialism, diamonds are expensive now. It's really weird if you look at the history of diamonds.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it. This is why I've always said it was bullshit. And when I had that talk with my girlfriend, and she's like, no, like she agreed, like it's bullshit. And I'll never buy her diamonds, but I'm okay with buying gemstones. I'm okay with buying gold and silver because it actually retains its value. There's like a limited source. Lab grown diamonds, they're what is it like not cellular, but they're genetic, or I don't want to say genetically, but they're very similar. I think in a compound, they're nearly identical, if not identical, to real diamonds. The only difference is where they're grown. One is grown in a mountain, and one is grown in or one in a cave, whatever it is, and one is grown in a lab. Like to the point where they are pushing to make industrial grow diamonds en masse industrially to replace silicone and computer chips. And it's like that's how like easy it is to grow diamonds, that we're like literally pumping out a ton of them. But there's another thing too, and I wanted to touch on like the starvation issue. So America has a very, very like minuscule starvation problem. Around 20,000 people
Tiny.
annually die of starvation. The problem is,
Wait, is that real?
It's real, but there's something to that, right? There's more information than just like, oh, we're not having a starvation problem. A lot of these people are already have like, it's mainly elderly people who are succumbing to illnesses. They're already like past the point where they can like survive. They have like either like dementia or they're dying of some type of issue that they die of starvation. Okay, but 20,000, which is still, it's sad that there's any, but compared to 380 million people, that's like 0.0001%.
Okay, I see. You're right. 20,000 lives annually. I thought it was inflated, but okay, it seems more than what I think it would be. But yeah, 20,000 people, but it's still a niche. It's still a niche subgroup for sure. But here's the thing, though, that could be easily eliminated. Like you said, 60% of homes have waste. That we throw out food all the time and do all this, but it's like we need to get back to our, and I'm going to harp on this. I know I'm beating a dead horse. We need to get back to a culture to where a man comes home where, like I said, I think that women should abdicate the work environment when it comes to law enforcement, firefighters, these roles that men have, been in the whole time. But I think that women should lead those roles. I don't care if I get demonized for saying this. And then flood the job market with these men. I think that men should run towards gunfire, run towards duty and obligation and all this. But in the meantime, we should go back to a culture where we're not outsourcing everything. I think, like I said, that hot plate at home that a woman can make, a home cooked meal, is magic. I guarantee you, Val, if you worked a long ass shift and you came home, and unlike eating Jack in a Box and Burger King and everything else and blowing and wasting your money, you come home and you see this hot ass meal in front of you. Your wife cooked all of this. It's your favorite meal. You come home, your boss pissed you off. You got cut off in traffic and all this. You're going to eat that plate and you're going to say, what, boss? You're going to forget about this bitch that cut you off, all this. That is a form of tradition. That's also culture on a plate. If we can go back to this in America, and I know people are going to say, well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. We need to go back to tradition. This hot plate, which is magic, wipes the day's slate clean, re-energizes you, and gives you that hope to fight another day, because literally, this is what we do as men back in the day. We fought for that plate. I fought traffic. I fought the boss. I fought for a higher pay wage, all this to come home, hot plate. She's raising the kids, homeschooling kids, things like this. That would be so ideal, but hopefully the pendulum swings back to the right to where we are going back to these traditions, this culture of the family sitting around at dinner. We're not booting men from the household because feminism is saying you have other 5 men that could be a better husband than this woman has, and all this, looking on social media, and women are buying into this lie. Surviving a storm in a relationship and actually working through a tough marriage, working through a relationship instead of just abandoning ship. Feminism has done a number, but one of the number one things that it's done is eroded culture in the home, traditional families, this relationship that we have, the bonding between men and women. We're reading lies online. Like I said, the woman's on the yacht. That's not real life. Like in the future, my wife may look on social media and say, well, she's on a yacht. I've never been on a yacht. I wish I could have her life. I would tell my wife, you don't understand what that woman had to do to get on this yacht. I guarantee you, she's probably jealous that you have a good husband at home. We have kids. We have a family. Hot cooked meal right now, and I'm going to reward you later, honey. Wink, wink. And it's like, we don't understand how greener the grass is, but we live in a modern culture where we're buying the lie constantly through consumerism, through spending, and propagandization of the other sex, which is predominantly women. They buy into this easily.
Yeah. So there's two things actually I wanted to touch on with that. For one, well, to add on to what I was saying earlier about like the starvation thing is to wrap that up. The main factors in the 20,000 the starvation is advanced diseases, severe dementia, and physical aging. So it's really
Damn.
when people say like people who cannot like they're gone, right? Those are the people that are starving. This is why I don't see an issue with like you can argue hunger, but you can't argue that they're like America is the greatest country in the world. This is why I will say that because I say pretty much food is guaranteed. No one's dying of starvation. If you don't like a healthy average person who's of fit age can acquire food anytime they want. Secondly, I do believe that the impact that it has pushed the pendulum to the right because people, or especially in Gen Z, we're having less sex than we have in previous generations. More women, we're foregoing sex, and the only issue I have with Gen Z is that we have a purpose crisis and nobody knows what to do. Everyone thinks that I need to join this mindset, this ideology to push like this to like be a part of something. And no, you can create your own.
We do have that, but here's another thing too, part and parcel with that. We have what we would call a dad deficit.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say we have a dad deficit is because we're now producing men in society who these women don't want to date. And a lot of these men are coming from single mother households. They don't know, like, and I'll give you a good example. If you have, like, let's say I have a wife and I have a son. Well, my son is naturally going to look for his mother in other women that he, dates. Well, anybody coming from a single mom home, and I would say most people, like they're going to have a hard time, especially men. Men are getting the short end of the stick when it comes to feminism. They're going to have a hard time when it comes to dating because what is your mom going to do? She's not going to teach you how to pick up women because that's not the lifestyle that she lives. That's not the life she lives. She doesn't know anything about pickup signs. She doesn't know about overcoming dating apprehension obstacles or any of this stuff. She's probably going to tell you, this is going to sound crazy, what women want, how to please women. But it's like, but rarely often do men ever get told how they should be treated themselves. Well, now you just created a man who is subservient to women who doesn't know where his line or boundaries should be drawn with women. And these men leave the home. And now all of a sudden you have a culture of women that complain because they resent these very men that they don't want to date. And now you have women dating the top 2% of women. And now you turn a whole culture of women into harems. And when I say harems, all these women want to go ahead and screw the top 2% of men. And it's like, you just created a harem. So it's like, I don't want to date these women that want to like have their fun and get done. But anyways, that sounds like a very red pill talking point. But what I'm talking about is like the non-erosion of culture. The non-erosion of tradition that we have. Tradition means like if you had a hard time in the house and you're going through a tough storm, the first option wasn't divorce. The first option is going to your priest, going to that, because I think that, God should be in your home. America's done a service on our homes when we eliminated the first father in the home, that was God. And then we eliminate the second father, which is the real father. Now, all of a sudden, the mom has to be the mom and the dad. Well, how's that not making more women masculine because she has to play two roles? She's by every metric more masculine than she would be if there was another man in the home. But she's now forced to step up because most of the women that leave marriages, it's because I can do better maybe, or because of, inadequate happiness, things like this. It's not infidelity. You can even look at the stats. It's correct on that. But anyways, yeah, it's insane, man.
Yeah. It's surprising because some of the top 10 issues like is actually finance. So no one's dying of hunger. I don't want to say because of course if there's abusive households and like there's kids that are dying of starvation because they have abusive households. There's people who have like mental impairment and if they can't get their own food and they're left alone, they are dying of starvation. But it's like I think at total 22,000, right? 20 to 22,000. I don't want to keep, but like around there. The issues I have with that is like you can't use that as like because it's an outlying issue. It's like the mass 9.999% are not dying of starvation. There's food banks. There's people will give for food. Food is pretty much guaranteed in America. The issue I have is when it comes like the financially. Like if you were having a hunger problem, I think that's where it comes in financially. Am I saying that there's people that aren't actually struggling financially because they can't find a job? No. I have a hot take. I have a hot take when it comes to like specific, like the job market and when it comes to housing. I don't believe housing. I think I mentioned in the beginning. I don't think housing is as expensive as people say it is. If you're not looking in places like Texas, California, Connecticut, New York, and Florida, if you avoid those areas in the West and the East Coast, if you look towards the center, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Kansas, they have extremely cheap housing. Like I said, I literally have I have a screenshot of a house, $135,000 for a 2-bedroom house.
Damn,
in
that's
in
crazy.
Kansas. It is. It's absolutely insane. When it comes to the job market, this is where it gets another like rocky place, because there were a ton of low skilled labor jobs that are. And Marte, tell me if I'm wrong here, right? Because if people say the minimum wage, the argument is the minimum wage has not increased since 20 years, right? It's still like $7.40.
It depends. If you're looking at California, they're trying to pay their people like a lot of money for doing fast food. But the problem with this is if you're going to pay your employees more money, the cost of other shit is going to go up. But anyways, what were you saying?
So that right there. So when people say that the housing, the job market, for example, like the minimum wage is not up to like standard, the biggest employers, Walmart, Amazon, and in California, I think it's like a school, like one of the colleges that has like the largest employment rate. These all pay way above minimum wage. They pay $15 to $20 an hour, especially if you go towards like the more expensive states. So I don't believe it's so much of like, oh my God, the jobs are so hard to find. And I do believe like in like white collar, if anything, AI is absorbing more white collar jobs. On the bottom level, where there's the majority of like low skilled labor, they're not being touched because AI is not replacing them. Maybe robots, when robots become efficient to the point of humans, like maybe. But as of the moment, what was this? Except Panama, they don't have to pay employees $20.
Panera bread.
Panera. Yeah. So I wonder how much like is their starting wage, like Panera?
I have a solution. And this is something that's viable. I think that we should lean into this a lot more. I think one thing that's neglected greatly are the trades. I think the trades are neglected greatly, but I think that's because we've kind of eroded that system as well too. And I'll give you an example. Like, remember the time in high school we had shop classes? What about auto? What about home ec? Well, a lot of these programs were slowly weeded out of culture from high school. And now that they've weeded all this out, like some of the arts programs were weeded out, things like this, it's whatever. But home ec, all these other things were weeded out. So it's like, I think that if we push men towards this, and that's what's also messing up the dating crisis as well too. We have a massive dating crisis. I'm in the Orthodox Church. When you talk about the Orthodox Church, there's a dating crisis there too right now, and it's not just because women outnumber men, or men outnumber women like 20 to 1 woman in a parish. The problem with this is that a lot of people don't really talk about is like the fact that if you want to date somebody, like you have to be able to support yourself and make enough money to like take them out on dates and this and that, and you want to be a provider. I think that that is something that also is kind of stifling people as well too. We are being told to be led into BS jobs, you know, through liberal college, getting degrees that don't mean anything. Meanwhile, the trade sector, you can make a shit ton of money being a pipe fitter. You can make a shit ton of money being a diesel tech. You could do a lot in the trades. But for some reason, because we have these women-led households, it's the last thing they're going to tell their son to do. Well, because there's an econ degree, or there's underwater basket weaving feminist degree, whoever. Like it's crazy. But it's like no woman is going to be thinking, oh, he could be a pipe fitter, or he can be an electrician, or anything like that. Well, because all of that has been outsourced because they don't do this themselves. They don't have any experience. They just call a number and it magically gets fixed by some guy out there. So I think that that's one thing that if we have men lean into these jobs a little bit more, they'll be surprised. Like, hey, my dating pool kind of increased a little bit. I'm not saying to do this to get more dates. I'm just saying that as a byproduct of being a more self-sustainable guy, you know, things like this. Mind you, remember back in my previous point, women are slowly starting to out-earn men. They're slowly starting to like when it comes to education, they're surpassing men. What feminism has done is it said, okay, we're going to level you guys up to where you guys are equal, but now women are still going up. They're not stopping. Well, they never wanted to stop at equality. They just needed more. And now all of a sudden what we have is female supremacy. More supremacy, more supremacy. And now all of a sudden when I'm up here as a female, or the females are up here, and a guy's right where he usually is, well, for some reason I have nobody to date. Well, why is that? Because you'll never be able to eliminate hypergamy, because if you ask any woman, she wants somebody taller than her, somebody who makes more money and all this. And it's like, well, one solution is like, dudes, go do the trades. Go do a trade, man. That's always a good thing to do no matter what. Robots and AI is not going to replace, techs that fix robotics, machines. AC is still going to be something that's highly desirable, especially in the Southwest. Pipe fitters are always going to be needed. And if you say robots are going to be replacing people, well, who has to maintain the robots in the field, no matter what? Because robots break down. Somebody's got to do this. There's a technician or a specialist that does. So it's like trades are something extremely important. So when we talk about modern dating, spending, all this, when it comes to economics, a lot of this can be easily solved by a good old trade. Blue collar work is still the shit, no matter what.
And here's the thing to that, right? So I think like for the people who don't want to go the college route, I think it's 100% go to the trades, right? I don't like it when people entirely say trades are the option or the solution, because when you were in the trades, it takes a toll on your body. It takes a huge toll on your body, and it does fuck up your knees and backs. Yeah, I think though, like if people go through a certain period of working the trades and open up their business, yeah, they can skyrocket in income. I don't like it when people entirely demonize degrees. I dislike it because that's been pushed so much. I think, are there bullshit degrees that are a scam? 100%. Anything liberal arts, liberal math, I wouldn't even say do teaching. I wouldn't even say anything that is not going to give a huge return on investment. And you can do your due diligence.
Degrees, though. That's most degrees. That's why they get demonized so much, because it's like, matter of fact, I'll even ask you a question, and I maybe you can prove me wrong. Give me 3 degrees right off the bat that aren't so saturated that automatically you're probably going to be mostly guaranteed, like, oh, if you push through that, you're going to be doing well.
Mechanical engineering. There's computer hardware engineering, and
you don't exactly need a degree for that.
For what?
Mechanical engineering.
I disagree, because my girlfriend's sister has gone into mechanical engineering. One of my best friends actually went to mechanical engineering, and he has potential to make over 130K starting, and it can go up to 300K. Is it
possible you can do this without a degree?
I don't believe so, because they're specializing. So my girlfriend's sister is specializing in robotic limbs.
Because you're saying things are getting modernized more. Is that what you're saying? That's why?
Yes. I because not only that, I agree with you where I think robots will become a more like a blue collar job, where we're going to be fixing the robots that do the manual labor. I think that is true. But when it comes to like, you can specialize in specific fields. Like for instance, mechanical engineering. My girlfriend's sister is doing the medical side of mechanical engineering, where she's going to be working with limbs, either like advanced prosthetic limbs, where they're actually going to be robots attached to bodies. That's one way. My friend who went to mechanical engineering, he works as like a manager in one of the warehouses. I don't know exactly.
Sounds
what he
very
does.
niche, by the way. It's just gonna be honest.
No, I agree with you. No, but that's the thing. It's like we have to niche in. I think we have to niche in when we go through like these degrees.
Yeah, but
finance.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the bad part about that. Remember when I asked you like what degrees? There's probably going to be less degrees that fit this profile. You used a word called niche. What does niche mean?
Niche is like specializing in a specific field, like smaller than
it may
market.
Be rare. There may be fewer of these. So it's like that implies that usually degrees out there tend to be bullshit, to be honest. That's what that implies. If you have to reference a niche, well, what would be the opposite? Something that's more common, something that pushes people, like an accounting degree, or let's say somebody went for broadcasting or something like that. Like that's a common thing for athletes in college. Like they'll go and it'll be like, oh, I just got a degree in broadcasting. Are they ever going to probably use this? Probably never. Yeah. So it's like, that's what I'm referring to. It's like, but that's why a lot of degrees get demonized because it's like, well, try to find a degree where it's like you automatically know that you're not going to have that hard of a time finding a job. It's hard. Now, what we have to go to, because what I'm saying, I think I'm right about this. Now you have to go into niche fields, because everything else that they're pushing you towards, like broadcasting degrees and all this, psychology, like they're so saturated that it's hard to not, like, you might end up graduating college and be an overqualified barista for a minute before you actually maybe might get a job. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's statistically, if you look at job like degrees that are going to pay you, or like they will tell you the jobs, like the potential of you getting a job right out of college. Another one is what is it called? Radiology. I think radiology is a great degree. I think if you go in the medical field, I think that's great. I think overall you're going to get a good degree. And I know people like doctors specifically have the stigma where they're going to go through years of debt and then they're going to explode with all of this income. I think that it's overall good to be a doctor. I think with niche engineering, like for instance, the prosthetic limbs, the robotic limbs, I believe it's going to become more common as time goes on. People who enroll in degrees is specializing in robotic, like for instance, mechanical engineering, and then use that to specialize in something like robotics for body parts. Eventually that will become common, but the people that do it now are going to gain that experience and income as it becomes more common later. So I still think like degree, like finance, for instance, I would like to go, and I'm pushing to go into finance. And I know it's a saturated thing, but if you pair that with like a skill of, let's say, sales, or I don't want to use psychology because I know psychology is total bullshit, right? But I think you can. Bro. I'm not using psychology, but I think if you use psychology, which you don't need to go to college for, but if you can study psychology outside of college and then use it to pair it with sales or marketing, that which you also need to go to college for, or like content creation, I think that's 100% a way to go. But there's skills that you don't need to go to college for. Psychology is one of them. But I think overall, when it comes to medical, yes.
You just named two fields that are really saturated: psychology and social media. So it's like, finance. So that's three things that are overtly saturated. But you see what you have to do now? You're like, because that's saturated, I'm going to add another saturated field and another saturated field to make, to create this Autobot or this thing that's a little bit slightly more rare and not as common. So it's like you have to do a Build-A-Bear, but that's crazy that you have to like Build-A-Bear degree yourself to like increase the optimization of finding a job, when really my plan is like, I would tell men, you can go find a trade that would be HVAC, plumbing, being a pipe fitter, or being a diesel tech. That's what I'm going to school for. And you'll get paid decent money. Not a diesel mechanic. That's what I'm saying. Diesel tech is different from a diesel mechanic. Mm-hmm. Diesel mechanics just replace parts, but diesel techs, they'll specialize in like rebuilding engines, things like this. That's what I'm going to get into. So it's like they pay a lot of money. Matter of fact, I'll even tell you this, Val. I have a guy named Justin in my class. And Justin owns his own business. Dare I say what that is? He owns like 3 semis, and he has a dispatch, and he tells these people to go haul fuel, right? Because it's hazard. And he pays these guys like, what is it, $13K a month, something like that. They go to Vegas, refill at this kid's casino, and then come back. And he makes, well, like, I don't want to say how much money he makes. It's stupid. The amount of money he makes in my class is so stupid. The only reason why he joined the trade school where I go is because an alternator broke in his diesel, and he had to pay like $24,000 to get it fixed. And he was like, if I go to school, I can fix it myself, and I don't need to outsource it. So it's like, oh, that is brilliant. But I'm just like, hold on. You mean to tell me that I can buy a diesel for the same amount of money that this Nissan Sentra cost, a used one? Maybe you get what you pay for, but anyways, maybe it'll last like 2 months, but I'll get my money's worth from hauling something really good, be an independent contractor, and start building a business. Like, there are so many options when it comes to trades where men can really make money, but it's not preached. And my problem is the opposite. We'll push people for degrees all day long. Most of the degrees, I'll say, are like saturated, not like, unless they get into the niche fields you're talking about, maybe, or they have to Build-A-Bear degrees. my thing is I would tell guys, hey, the trades are still needed. If the infrastructure still needs to be maintained, people still need air conditioning. They need electricity. Robots aren't replacing any of this stuff. And Abby in my chat brought up that medical, like people still need medical no matter what. So the medical fields are still always going to be a viable option as well too. Yeah. So there's so many different things, right? That we can get.
So two things. For one, I agree 100% with Abby, because nursing, doctors, all that, they're not going anywhere. Radiologists. My thing though was when I said like finance and what I say, psychology, I didn't mean like to pursue those. I'm pursuing finance, but because I like finance, and I think that it comes with like a part of you have to sell, and I think pairing it with the skill of selling, which is something you don't need a degree for. That's something that I would like to do personally, right? Because I like to look
now. We're at 4 because it was 3. Now selling that's
no, I don't believe no. Like these, like those 2 I said, like psychology and what was the other one that I said? I said psychology, finance, one other one.
You said psychology. You said psychology, finances, and it was something else that was slightly saturated. If you were to take this out. Mm-hmm. But I think that when it comes to this stuff, but it's like you have to understand now you're making yourself even more niche throughout this Build-A-Bear thing that you're doing right now. I'm just going to call it Build-A-Bear.
Yeah.
But you're like, well, now you have to say that the person, like if you were going to map on what you're doing to somebody else, you probably say, and you're going to be in sales too. A lot of people are averse to that. They're turned off to sales.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Not a lot of people are salesmen, and I get that. But now you're becoming more niche, more specialized. But maybe you're finding your way doing it because you're stacking degrees and then stacking things that aren't degrees.
No,
but it's each their own.
So specifically that when I said like these, when I named those fields, I didn't mean to stack those together. I said that you could, and this is something that I looked into, because you could take, let's say, psychology and put it with sales, because sales is technically like, like mental tactics to get someone to say yes. I like finance because I believe when it comes to revolving around finances and personal like credit, when it comes to financial exchange and financial asset management, that's a doorway in, specifically just the finances. And I think if you compare sales with it, 100%. A lot of these you don't need a degrees for outside of finance. You don't even technically need a degree for specific financial fields. Like financial advisor, you need a degree. But you can call yourself a financial, it's not an advisor, it's a financial, I can't think of the name for it, but you don't need a degree to call yourself that. And it's just a slight switch in the name. I can't think of it. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's a financial, you can't call yourself an expert, but it's let me see. My bad. But go ahead, continue the, while I look for it, because I can't, I'm looking for it.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that the trades are still where it's going to be at. But back to like the consumerism, we're too brainwashed when it comes to consumerism. We're too big on spending and waste as a nation. I think that we should go back to tradition. Like I said back in the day, like hell, I still remember my grandmother had a cookbook and she made the best food. Like she made some great recipes and things like this. I don't even hear about families doing this anymore. Like having the dinner, having the conversation, bringing people around, like the tradition of talking over a meal and people like commiserating, and all this. Like for some reason, we've eroded these traditions so much. And I actually really miss that. I think if we could bring that back, that would be great for society.
Yeah.
And everything starts at home. Your view on politics, the way that you feel about life, the other gender, sex, and all that comes from home. And we had these tough conversations and even debates over like a small dinner. Granted, like you couldn't be crazy over these debates and be cussing people out and all that because, of course, you're with family. So you had to have like a sense of decorum and you like learn to have patience and like, all right, I don't want to overstep my bounds. So you learned like restraint at the table. Like there was so much that you learned within a conversation on a hot plate. I don't know. We've gone so far away from these traditions and eroded them away. And now we get grown up and we have a woman and now we want to spoil her because we're afraid that she'll get bored and walk off. And it's like, bro, men have folded a long time ago. And we need to hold our ground and stand our ground, especially when it comes to traditions and not eroding our own culture.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I agree that I think men, and specifically people with I'm not entirely conservative. I'll admit that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, we need to open up, even though I would love a farm and raise like Highland cows.
That's not necessarily like conservative. That's just that can be a liberal too. So
yeah, usually the idea with farming goes around like conservative people, but I'm not the most conservative. I wouldn't even label myself as mostly conservative. I would say I'm more like leaning right towards center. But I think that if people want to push their idea and people want some type of balance, don't look away from it. A lot of people that lean right or conservative, they're like, oh, forget Hollywood, forget conservative, forget like social media. No, like put your take land, like take your staple, put your staple in there and spread your message. Like that's the problem. You have so many people on the left side and people that are even like feminist takes, or we have like red pill takes. We have like these people that come in and they're so vocal, and this is why red pill got like a massive push on social media, because they were so vocal. They went hard on pushing their message, and it did push back on like feminism a lot. So that's the thing. It's like if you have a message and you start to gain traction and other people start to follow you, eventually Hollywood would balance out. If you had a ton of if you had a ton of right wingers and conservatives in there, and even if it's like, let's say 50-50 or even 40% Republicans, 60% liberal, you wouldn't get cancel culture. You wouldn't, because like some guy says like retard or something in a movie. You're not going to get canceled because like these people are like, no, it's fine. I want to watch that. I vote to see that movie, because it is, you're voting with your money. You're voting for with your wallet.
Yeah, I agree. You are voting with your wallet, and that's going to happen. One thing I'll say is, though, I do have a heart out in like 15 more minutes. Yeah, man, this has been a crazy conversation. I didn't expect to like discuss everything else within the full scope of like finances, economics, feminism, waste culture, all this. Like, this has kind of been like a full, well-rounded conversation, to be honest. I don't really have too many of these, but it's always good to have whenever I have them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, thank you so much, Marte, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I really love the conversation.
Yeah, and I always like to have these conversations with people, no matter what. Just it could be like we'll just even call this like kind of a chill stream. I like chill streams, and I like talking to people about just random things as pertaining to culture, politics, religion, all these other things, and it's always good. I actually don't think we clash too much on a lot, although I am leaning more towards conservatism than a lot of people that I know. Like, that's always going to be the thing, no matter what. I'm a Republican. You'll have to kill me like over me trying to vote for anything Democrat, but that's just me. But that's because we can't let them win. And that's how I always think. Like, letting the other side win compared to Trump would have been probably like not enforcing the border, letting baby deletion from Planned Parenthood like take hold. Like, that would have been like, there's a lot of nefarious things that happen. People complain about Iran the whole time, but my point on Iran and my viewpoint on that is like, I don't think that like we would have had a stopgap and try to prevent this from happening. But I think the war in Iran was inevitable. It would have happened in this administration, or it would happen in the next administration. But also, I also have my other views on Israel. I had another podcast about that, but I actually had a debate. I had an anti-Israel debate against a guy named Tyler, which was pretty fun to have. And I'm going to start getting into more political debates too. As you know, I've been doing debates all around the world. Like, well, when I say all around the world, I mean anybody from around the world can challenge me to a debate and I'll set it up. That's what I mean when I say that. You've seen I've been on Jubilee. I've been on different podcasts, platforms, and debated in real life, doing all this other stuff. That's what I like doing. But I think debate culture is starting to take off a lot more. There are people who are new converts that are finding orthodoxy through debates. There are people that are having discussions that they normally couldn't have before. And there are feminists that are getting pushback on things because arguments are better and more refined. And now they're starting to make these fence sitters at home think, damn, You know, the way that he puts it, like that is a stupid take. Like it's like, and we need to have these conversations more often. And granted, not everybody can be a debater. Not everybody can be competent enough to be in these trenches. Mind you, these trenches are empty. There's not a lot of people in these trenches debating. And I did put out a poll on my Discord. I think I might be the only black person besides a guy named Tomahawk that I know that does right-wing debates, you know? So it's like, I don't know. But I get demonized all the time. I get called Uncle Tom, Coon, and everything else. I don't really care. All I care about is common sense, rationale, and logic. That's all I really care about, man. And back to this topic, like I think it's very important to talk about culture, tradition, where society's going, and there's going to be politics mixed in with that. So these conversations are always welcome on my channel, and you're always welcome to be on the channel as well too, anytime.
I appreciate you, Marte. 100%. I guess like just to leave it off with is I agree with you on the Iran thing. I think it was gonna happen eventually. Like honestly, I support it. People would actually get angry with that. The Israel thing, I don't know. I'm pro Israel in the sense of the war, but overall, like I agree with you on the like America being like, how do I say? I'm tripping up a bit, but basically I'm 100% in support of America. And I think that the reason why I tend to stick towards the middle is because I like having conversations with both sides, whether they lean Republican or Democrat. And I think what I push for the most is to be positive, having this what's it called? Like optimistic viewpoint on the future. Because if we say, oh, you know, we give up, then we're not going to really try to make a difference. We're just going to like accept our fates. And I'm 100% against that. I think we need to push and actually be optimistic when it comes to like, okay, we have possibilities. We're in an amazing time and we can actually fight for this.
Well, I'll tell you this. I am not in the middle. I'm on the right, but I do like having conversations with both sides, even if I'm on the right. But it takes a certain amount of tact, right, to have a conversation with somebody on the left, mainly because you don't want them to rage quit and you want them to stick around a little bit so you can have some kind of discussion with them. I think that's good. I think we should have conversations with liberals. I think we should have conversations with other people that are on our sides. I don't like echo chambers that much. So yes, I do like talking to my own detractors sometimes because it emboldens me. I think it enhances my ability to kind of like restrain my impulses as well too, so that way I can just be able to hear their whole side, listen to their worldview, and also dismantle it, because not only can I still man their position and everything they told me, but I now understand how dumb their worldview can be sometimes too. But you'll never know that if you never let them, you know, give you enough rope to hang them with, or hand you scissors, or hand you a pew. They'll do this in the conversation that they're going to have with you. And they'll tell you how stupid their position is if you let them talk. And the problem with that is a lot of people on my side may not have that conversation because maybe they don't like them that much. But I think that if you're not fellowshipping, because I'm against that, there's a difference. But I think that if you can have conversations in the form of debates on their side, and maybe a conversation where you're trying to like understand like how they got to their position, I can understand that. But so we always have to like think about our position, like meaning, is my position tenable? Can I defend my own position? You'll never know that unless you're around people that can question your position as well too. So I think that it's always good to have conversations, but I would kind of guard against like hanging out with people, because what happens is if you hang around with the opposition and enemies, your tolerance for their BS goes up, because that's what's going to happen when you become familiar with people and you start rubbing elbows. I guess it's not that bad anymore. Well, because you're around it. Like you're hanging out, like you're fellowshipping at this point. Me, like, that's why I say this. Like, your enemy would want you to tear down fences and forget why the fences were up in the first place. That's the thing that we need to ward against. I think that we need to hold these standards. We need to hold these standards to where we're not eroding these things to where they're now invisible lines. And now all of a sudden, this foe is now an ally that is now a spy, who is now like, that's what happens like we want to ward against that. But anyways, like there's lines drawn, and we as men we need to say no and have boundaries. Basically,
I agree with that. I agree to the point where I think we should not falter in our beliefs unless we have like strong evidence against our claim. And I think that I guess a plus of being in the middle, it leans towards like if somebody gives me I don't know, like a point to like why feminism isn't bad. I'll look into it and I'll still call it bullshit. Or if I see like something that I disagree with entirely, it's not gonna like persuade me in any way. But I do think that when by the way, I'm not making a case against being either or, but it goes to if someone says something, I'm like, okay, I'll look into it. I will let me evaluate your claim.
yeah,
And
of
then
course.
if it's yeah, exactly. And I think it's good to know both arguments because then you can fight it. You can fight it from internally. Like if someone's like OnlyFans is good because women who do sex work are have more money and can like close the wage gap. That's all bullshit because like the wage gap is bad. The wage gap is fake. My bad.
Yeah.
Like sex work overall puts women more in danger than they would be if they worked like a normal job. So you can claim like that's bullshit. But like that's why I'm like, okay, I don't mind listening to the bullshit, but I'll still call it. But overall, like I've had a great conversation tonight, Marte. It's been awesome. I haven't had a stream like this in a while either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that streams like this are extremely important. Dang, you know what? I was at work and I left these notes for the debate tomorrow. Luckily, I have my notes in my phone and I preserved them. I'm going to print this out at school tomorrow. But anyways, do you have any last comments? And can you tell my audience where they can find you?
Oh yeah. So for one, I go by Vale Gato, the same as my handle. It's either on X, TikTok. My Instagram is more of a personal thing, but like mainly just X and TikTok are my YouTube, and those are my go-tos. And last point would just be, I think we need to stop blaming like external factors, government, billionaires, people, AI. Instead, like how can I perfect what I have in front of me? What's the best that I can do? And then after we fix those issues that are personalized, then we can say, okay, what's the macro now? What can we look at and fix them in the macro?
Yeah, I think we need to clean our own house first and organize everything else with our own lives. I think that people don't have that self-reflection. There's no introspection going on in daily lives because we're so caught in the mundane aspects of a phone that we carry around everywhere that like we're literally being brainwashed by feminism and consumerism the whole time, where there's no introspection because we're looking on the outside and we're projecting too much. We're outsourcing our attention everywhere else instead of inward, right? When it comes to our own house, our own finances, not saving money, staying home. If you're a gamer, be a gamer because at least you're saving more money with the 2 hours staying in instead. Because like I said, and I'll say this again, anytime I leave my front door, it costs like $50. Automatic minimum, bro. It's expensive to like leave the house sometimes, depending on what I'm gonna do, man. So, like, I don't know. I like staying home, keeping my money in my pocket, and not becoming some materialistic consumer that the world would want me to believe or be myself. So, yeah. I think that people blame too many people. They blame everybody but themselves. They obfuscate and don't want accountability, and that becomes their kryptonite. They start just blaming anybody. That's what feminism does. And men need to not buy into that as well, too, let alone women. And that's
100%. It. Yeah. Hey, promo on Marvel Rivals, bro. Do that over going to the bar.
Yeah, there you go. Also, before I go, I have a debate. It's a World War debate. It'll be against a guy named Anton Miles. And the topic or prompt of tomorrow's debate for World War debate, yes, you've heard it. I think it's the second debate that they've had. It says number 2. So anyways, the prompt for the debate is feminism has helped modern dating. I shit you not. That is what the prompt is. Best of luck to the guy I'm debating tomorrow. And Miles, if you're watching this, I wish you the best luck, and may Christ have mercy on you. Anyways, that is it. This has been a good conversation, fully edifying to some degree. But yeah, we've talked about a lot of shit tonight. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Take care.
You guys have a great night. You have a great night, Marte.
All right, you too. All right, guys. And that's it. So I'm going to end this podcast. I know that I just saw a notification that Dusty is making another podcast about me, saying Marte's going full R-tard or something like that, blind bill, something like that. I don't really care, to be honest, because I'm focused on building my own content, things I have to do. I don't really care. I see it, but I don't see it as well too. Anyways, I hope you all have a great night. Christ is God. May Christ bless you and your family, and may you all have a safe and productive, blessed, beautiful evening. If you're with your loved ones, tell them you love them. Let us fight the liberal leftist scumbags and even the libertarians. Let us fight them because they're not our allies. They're our foes. And to me, I think that we should be able to not tear down these fences while forgetting why these fences are up. There should be division. I don't care what anybody says. We should have division between us and the liberals. There should be division because I do not agree with their ideology at all. I will never fold to their side no matter what. Me, I'm an Orthodox Christian first. I'm a debater second, a pro athlete, all these other things. We could put all the labels in there. But my point is I'm not on their side. We're diametrically opposed to each other. And I will always fight for you guys. I'll fight for myself. I'll fight for my nation, the nation that I want to see in the world. And I'll also debate and fight as well too, right? Verbal fisticuffs, right? That's what we want to do. Anyways, it's been real, guys. Hopefully you guys have a blessed evening, and Christ is God, and God bless.